Good, bet. What's up? This is DP on TRPT COD, TRPT Change of Directions. I got two special guests today, my pops, Damon Patterson Sr. and Kevin Jordan. These guys was where it all started. This is where Raw Power began, and then we transformed it into TRPT. So now we're going to let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their journey of how they started into training, just to give you a little background, and then we'll rehash it throughout the episode like we always do. You already know. COD, y'all got to like, subscribe, tell a friend, follow, do all that good stuff. But we'll start with you, Pops. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them how you got into training, what type of athlete you were, and everything else.
All right, Damon Patterson the first. It's funny how I got into training because I hadn't even planned on being a trainer. I was at work, mid-90s, getting ready to run the Police Olympics, so I bought a book on speed by Tom Tellez. And I just happened to be reading the book, and another officer, Buzz Benjamin, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, will you train my son?" I'm like, "I'm not a trainer, I don't know how to train." So he just kept asking me. So I went to the Cooper Institute for a week to get certified because I felt I had to be certified to learn. And after $600 and a week later, I realized I still didn't know any more about training than when I went in there.
But hold on, I ain't gonna cut you out, but that's a good point you bring up, right? Everybody talks about being certified. Are you a certified trainer? Are you this and that? Y'all heard what he said. He went to the Cooper Institute for 1 week and got a certification, because now you know everything you need to know in a week. So those are things that I talk to trainers about, because they talk about, hey, are you certified in this? Hey, man, it's about experience a lot, and it's about your own education. You can't learn anything in this world in a week and be truly good at it. So yeah, I didn't want to cut you off, but that led into a good thing where people are always talking about, are you certified? You can go somewhere and give somebody $600, and in a week, you're now good enough to train somebody. So that's kind of cool that you said that, because I get that question all the time. Do I need to be certified in this? I'm not saying don't get certifications, but you also got to know as a trainer what you're getting when you're walking in there. A lot of times it's a handout, you know what I mean, of money to somebody. And as a consumer, if you're looking for a trainer, just because somebody is certified doesn't mean they didn't put in some real groundwork. They found something, and they might have went a week, 2 weeks, a month, but still doesn't mean what you think it means because they have a certification.
Yeah, and I learned that, that certification really didn't help me. So I started with the first kid I ever trained was Jason Benjamin up in North Mesquite. And shortly after we started, I got Philip Arentz, Derek Sauls, and a young lady from right here in Forney, Trina Johnson. So that was my first summer of training at North Mesquite. It was through Buzz Benjamin asking me. And, I owe a lot to Buzz. God rest his soul right now, but I pretty much owe all of this to Buzz. If it wasn't for Buzz, I never would even started training. But that's pretty much how I got started here in the Mesquite area. That was like 95, I believe, like 95.
Yeah, what about, so that's how you got into training. What about growing up? What type of sports did you play? Just a little bit of your athletic background.
Growing up, I grew up in Topeka, Kansas, and Highland Park. When I grew up, you had to play everything. So I played football, played basketball, ran track. That's just how it was. If you was an athlete in my area, you played everything. So through high school, I played football for 2 years, played basketball 3 years, ran track all 3 years, and so even though I played football, I honestly, when I started training, I had no idea about football because, people, they'd never believe it. I was a 5'3", 100-pound nose guard in high school. And people look at me like I'm crazy, but I was.
I was talking like he was Aaron Donald. Boy, be telling us stories like he was Aaron Donald.
Hey, I was a bad boy. I was a bad boy.
He was. It's just a pint size.
Ronald McDonald, but not Aaron Donald.
but I didn't even like football. I just played because Patrick played.
Yeah.
My best friend, so he played. So, we was playing against Topeka High. Dude came around the corner. I'm playing cornerback. He's about 225. I'm 100 pounds, so I act like I slipped. Coach took me out the game. And that was my last play as a DB. So the next day he was mad at me. He made me walk around with him the whole practice. So I'm over there with the line, and I'm laughing at him and talking about him. He said, "Well, you get down there. Can you do better?" So I got down there.
Did
the rest is history. I'll start nose guard on Friday. And so from there, I played nose guard the rest of the year, and people still don't believe, but yeah, I was actually a nose guard, 100 pounds in high school.
Shooting the gaps.
Shooting the gaps.
So,
50 defense, right?
From there, I went on to play college basketball, Independence, junior college. I played at Washburn. So, that was a lot of my growing up was basketball was pretty much everything for me. As far as this training stuff, me and Patrick, we trained our own self growing up. So it's not like, I learned how to work hard or train later. Ever since I was a kid, we trained our own self. We put on combat boots in the summer and ran hills.
Exactly.
So I've been running hills since, the early 80s in combat boots so we could get in shape. We really didn't know what we was doing, but, we was trying to get in shape.
It was better than nothing.
Yeah, so, and then at 16, me and some other friends, we started our own track team. So I actually started coaching at 16 years old, a summer track. So, this goes back a long ways for me, at least trying to train somebody, working out, So, it was kind of natural when I became a trainer here. It was kind of natural, just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, definitely. So, as far as you, Mr. Jordan, what got you into training?
Well, I initially started with working with my kids. My oldest boy, Kevin Jordan II.
Yep.
Everybody probably knows him as Scooter Jordan.
And his daughter plays on the team out here, so he's
Yes.
coaching out here too. So definitely enjoy having him out here.
She gonna be a beast too.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I started out probably in the 80s. I'm a little bit older than your dad, just a little bit.
A little bit.
And early 80s, in fact, just working with kids that Scooter was affiliated with in baseball. And it just kind of evolved to a point where started with one kid, then it became 2 kids, then it was 5 kids, and before you know it, you had 10, 15 kids out there. And we kind of trained them all the way through middle school to high school. And once he got to high school, he went to South Garland, and I started training him at South Garland pretty much the same way. You had to start out with him, and then it just kind of grew and started out with baseball players. And he played football. He was a 120-pound wide receiver. But he could get out the way, and that's kind of what I started working on speed development and that stuff because I knew he was going to be small. If you're going to be small, you got to be strong, you got to be fast. And at South Garland, Ronnie Thompson, who was the head coach, I think Coach Thompson's still living. He was the head coach at South Garland. He was one of the original coaches that started with the spread offense here in Texas. While at South Garland, he implemented a passing offense when everybody was still running the ball. And he allowed me to come into the gym at South Garland and train my kid, and so it started growing again. And, people like Quincy Morgan, name dropping, Richard Adams, who's now a coach. And that's kind of how it all started for me. And then when Rowlett opened up, I kind of moved away from South Garland and started coaching in the Garland area. And at that time, if you fast forward, we're probably sitting at about 97, 98, somewhere, well, probably 97, 95, somewhere in there. Started working at Garland, training kids, and Coach Joe Martin allowed me, and this was before the Adams course. Coach Martin allowed me to start working with his football players. Fast forward to 2000, that's pretty much was my base. So at the same time, you were coaching and working with kids and training kids in Mesquite. I was in Garland training kids, and guess what? Garland and Mesquite were crosstown rivals. I mean,
Big time.
Boy, remember those days?
Big time.
Oh my God! I mean, you talk about smash mouth football and literally not liking each other.
Yeah.
You couldn't even put the two schools. We couldn't train together early on because it would have been fights.
Yeah, no, that was big time.
It was big time rivalry. So Damon was in Mesquite training some of the better athletes in Mesquite. I was in Garland training some of the better athletes in Garland at the same time. When my youngest son, Corey, graduated, because he graduated in 03.
Okay.
I think either '02 or '03 is when I knew your dad, but I knew him from Omar, Washington,
Yep.
which that had to been '97, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. My timeline's kind of messed up because I'm a little old now. But
You in there though? We close. We in the pocket.
yeah. Well, I remember you were in like middle school,
Yeah.
and Damon and I met. You were still playing Little League or Pee Wee select baseball,
Yeah.
and so that's how we initially met.
Yeah.
I can't recall what brought us together to
I can't
train together,
I can't either.
Yeah. I can't even tell you.
but whatever it was divine intervention. I mean, it was God putting us together. He was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, and we were doing it for the love of the young people and being positive influences on young
100%.
people's lives. And that's what attracted us, and we've been friends for over 20 years, and we still do the same thing. If someone wants to, well, I'm retired. Are you retired?
Semi.
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 If young folks come
Special
up to
occasion,
us, we
special
send them to
occasion.
Little D now,
Yeah,
baby. It's
yeah.
like, hey, yeah, I got.
That's why I had sons to turn
You
them
know what I
over to
mean?
him.
But our philosophy was, it's not about the money. It's always about the young person,
Always
the
about the
development,
kid.
and
Exactly.
development of it. So that's kind of how we started this whole thing of training. And Damon was always creative.
Yeah.
I would have certain drills and things that I would do, and he'd be like, KJ, I got this deal I built.
Yeah. He was
And we
always
can use
building
it.
something
We
with
can use
PVC
it.
pipe.
Yeah, PVC
That's all you
pipe.
need. PVC pipe and some duct tape. He gonna build it all. He'll build a car out of PVC.
That's all you
And
need.
you rolling. I remember everybody's on these overspeed cords. Damon was buying surgical tubing, drilling holes in the weight belts, and that's how we did our resistive training, our overspeed training. We was doing this stuff, man, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Now every trainer that you go to, they've got overspeed cords, and they got all these gadgets. I'm sitting here looking at plyo boxes. We built our own plyo boxes before it was even commonplace. If you fell on them, you'd probably tear your knees up.
Exactly.
But we kind of evolved, and we became brothers.
100%.
And out of that brotherhood, we were able to touch the lives of a whole lot of young people.
Yep.
I can't even tell you, I don't even know where to start with the number of people I know that he's had an influence on their lives, and I've had influence on other kids' lives. I really started focusing in on speed,
Yeah.
and that was my niche. Damon was always the strength guy, the gadget guy, but I was really always about technique and teaching proper posture, foot strike, those things, because I've always felt like God blesses kids with great talent. People like your dad and myself, we develop that talent, and we teach. And we teach them mechanics and technique, and then they can evolve into being great athletes. We were just talking about a lot of these guys now. Well, that's my kid. I got this kid or that kid, and we weren't like that. It was, if you wanted to train, you come to us, you train,
Didn't
we
matter who
teach.
you was.
Status didn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
I still say you probably could have been a better 400-meter runner than Mosquito.
Man, Mr. Jordan, you tell everybody that. You go tell a nose guard that they could be a
You can run the
400.
quarter.
Hey, man, you know what gets you off that ball a little quicker? If you get on that quarter, you probably get off the snap a little quicker. Man, I wasn't trying to mess with none of that in high school. Like I said, I was running 49s with literally zero practice at the 4.
Or training.
And training, nothing like, but it was just, we was just locked in on that football, and that being on that track hurts.
Yeah.
That track hurts, especially if you're not truly a track guy. And even if you could be a track guy, you still have to have that track mentality of saying, I'm gonna go put in these 200s, these 400s, and all that, where, it's a little more fun. Okay, we all know you gotta lift in every sport. You gotta do some type of conditioning, but it's fun to run the routes, right? It's fun to do footwork, especially back then, like training so much different. What we were talking about
Changed so much.
in the back before this started was when I was training with you all, it was about speed, size, and conditioning.
Yep.
Nowadays, they want that speed, explosion, but the skill part of the game is so much. Like, we wasn't out there running routes and doing cone drills when I was growing up. Like, I was just a great route runner because I was a great route runner. But we didn't spend more than, we would do a whole, hour and a half, 2 hours in summer camp. And the last 15 minutes was routes. Like, we did, and that was on certain days.
Well, they wasn't throwing the football back then.
Exactly.
Everybody was
Running the
options
ball.
and
So,
stuff,
like I said, so nobody was really worried about, like, now it's about skill, your foot placement. This how you get off the line. This how you sell a route. This what you do. And it was so different because, like, guys like me, like, we were few and far in between. You're at that time, 5'7", going to KU, 150 pounds. Like, that was like my guys that came out with me was Julio Jones and AJ Green were the number 1 and 2 wide receivers. Like, they wanted 6'4", 215 coming out of high school.
You were like Scooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scooter was 5'7", 140 pounds, wet.
Exactly.
Baseball player, played football. But you guys, one of the things that and I didn't mean to cut you.
No, you good.
But one of the things that transferred over into you being a great route runner and being a great athlete, the same thing with other kids who've trained with us was we didn't know what we were doing at the time, but absorption of force and being able to transfer that force to different directions. That's what we did through the Archuleta drills, through the frog jump drills, the hurdle jumps.
Exactly.
All those things was about absorbing force and transferring that force to a different direction.
Exactly.
And that's where you excel. I remember going to a high school game. You and Lanier were playing. It was at one of the Mesquite Hills. And I mean, when you put your foot in the ground, it was on the kickoff.
Yeah.
Put your foot in the ground and bam, whoop. I mean, there was no deceleration. And now I look at the great ones now, like, what's that kid's name?
Ruggs, Henry Ruggs.
And the other kid.
Jerry Judy, and all them boys.
That's what these kids are able to do now is they don't sink their hips. They can absorb force and transfer. So that was big we were ahead of our game way back then.
Yeah, we didn't realize it. We didn't realize it.
No.
We didn't realize it, but you're right. That's what it was. We didn't realize it, but.
Yeah, we did a lot of things that were cutting edge, and now we see it as being older trainers. We're going, oh, wow, that's what we were doing back in the day, and people are using it. And I'm not saying that we initiated it, but we learned it from somebody. You know, he was talking about Tom Tellez. He had a camp down in Houston.
Yeah.
I went to the camp. That's where I learned about posture. That's where I learned about Maxwell. It was a one-day camp. And certification, no, I ain't been certified, but I always say I'm the Walmart version of a really solid speed coach.
The best thing about us from back then until today, we've always been students of the game.
Yes, that's the key.
Certain people think they're the best at everything.
Right.
And they don't. They got the best speed techniques. They got the best catching drills. We would go down to UT on recruiting trips. My pops was talking to their strength coaches, like, what do y'all do down here?
Okay.
OU, what are you doing down here? You going to camps. We looking it up. He's always got a book. He was always reading something and be like, hey, we can implement this, but there might be a little better way to do it. Or we're already doing this and somebody's doing a little better than us, so let's add on what they're doing. And that was, I think, our biggest advantage then and now, that we're always trying to get better. No different than me coming in as a young buck. But y'all training, I'll show y'all something. You be like, oh, let's add that in, instead of being like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, we've been doing it. Like, the biggest thing is what we do is always enhanced because we're always trying to enhance it and not sitting in on our plaques on the wall and saying, yeah, we're good, look what we've done. And just same with me. Like, say, hey, this is what my pops do. Hey, this is what Mr. Jordan does. Like I said, when I do all my speed stuff, we go through them same drills that I did. So it's the same terminology that you use. I'm not in here being like, because, like, it would be easy for me to be like, look at these buildings that I got now. Look at this stuff that I got. Look at this, and make it seem as it's my own. I'm like, no, Mr. Jordan showed me this. My pops did this. Like, and that's the difference, is people, one, you pay homage to people who taught you and showed you, but also when you know, if this is where I was at and I got here by using these drills, I need to take these drills and take my athletes there. That's how I got there.
It's not, unfortunately, this whole training game, and it's not new.
Exactly.
And the basic things that I remember when I played high school football, we didn't have a whole lot of weightlifting. And this was in L.A. And needless to say, we did a lot of chin-ups, push-ups. I mean, we did a lot of pulling your own weight.
Yeah.
And this, class of 1974. But a lot of the things, the basis for a lot of stuff, even today, we talked about, part of the program was, when we was over at North, was chin-ups and being able to pull body weight.
Yep, body weight.
It's gymnastic stuff. That's
Still
all.
Exactly.
Still do.
Still is.
Still
I
do it.
talk
To
to
this
my athletes about that all the time. Literally yesterday I had a new kid, and they were like, what can we do at home to do, get them better? I said, well, one, it's hard when an athlete's not at a certain level of athleticism and knowledge about what they're doing. So I said, what I tell most of my athletes to do is save the technique stuff for here. Because if I teach you something here and then you're really working hard, but you're doing it wrong, you're defeating the purpose.
Correct.
I'd say, this is what I want your kid to do. From literally my young ones over. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats, step-ups, dips. Learn how to move their body as efficiently as possible. I said, that's all I need them to do. Move their body. I said, outside of football, and it almost blends into your body, you're really running. You don't run around with 245 pounds on your back.
Yeah.
When you play basketball, you got a jersey on and the ball weighs whatever small amount. You have to, in sports, move your body. That's all you're moving on the field.
When are you, I remember coming up to it, we used to always talk about this, and how much emphasis was put on squats.
Yeah.
Hurting kids,
Hurt. Yep.
basically. And I'm not going to name names or point out any organizations or schools, but you're out there and you know who you are. But
Exactly.
You don't squat anybody when you're playing football or basketball.
Yep.
What you want to maximize is your explosion.
Exactly.
And so it's not how much you put on the bar when you're squatting, it's the repetitions and how quickly you can recover and push it over and over again.
Yes.
Why does the NFL do 225? Because
Exactly.
they don't care if you can bench press 500 pounds. Can you do 25? Can you do 25 reps at 225?
Exactly.
You're strong. So now you're taking, and you can take that to track as well, because it's pretty much the same thing. I always said the guys that I've worked with that are speed guys, we were just talking about this, God blessed them with all that ability. I mean, I can't take credit for any one track athlete that I've worked with, and I've worked with a few.
Yeah.
But the credit goes to God, and then their willingness to learn, and for me to study and us to study, because I'd be we'd be training track kids together, and Damon would be looking and say, well, KJ, we should add this to it, add that to it. Oh, okay, let's do that. But learning how to move your own body mass efficiently. That works for football, basketball, track.
Every sport.
Every sport.
Walking around on a day-to-day basis.
Core strength. You can't go anywhere, do anything without having a good core.
Exactly.
You remember the little kids in elementary school? I do remember, if I can remember back that far, but I can't. There was always this athlete that could do tumbles and backflips.
Yep. Yep.
The jokers always had tremendous core strength.
Exactly.
And they were always the better athletes too, weren't they?
100%.
Maybe they didn't make it through class. You never saw them through high school.
But yeah.
You remember, Johnny, man, that dude there used to jump like a rabbit. So
Yeah.
it's a gift.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what are like some of the things that y'all have seen from back when you were starting to train? Not even just like as far as like back when y'all were like, say, kind of at the height, when we were like kind of in the 96-ish through like 2000 and really about 8, because that's when I came out.
Yeah.
That's at about after Devin's class in 2010, we slowed
Kinda
down
slowed
a little
down,
bit.
yeah.
But yeah, so about from about 90, no, so not through that, but like when y'all first started training, like what's the difference? Like obviously techniques, technology, the kids, like what did you see? What's up with you props? Like what do you see like from when you first got into training to like it's 2020 now and what training is like?
The biggest thing I see, like I said, back then, when I went to North, we was the only ones doing it.
Yeah.
We was the first ones out there. We was the only ones. Even the high schools didn't even have a summer program.
Yep.
So we was the first ones doing it. I guess that's why we grew so quick, because wasn't nobody doing summer workouts. So that's how
And
we
even
grew
when
so
they got the Adams course, Coach Bragg literally was like, hey, you either can do the Adams course or you can do raw power. Like, and it would be split through the school. We'd have 100 kids.
And if
Yep.
they did
yeah.
Adams course, this summer, they was with us next summer.
Yeah.
So eventually the course just left because
Yeah, they
all the
literally
kids
left
ended
all the
up
way
with us
out
anyway.
of North Mesquite.
But the main thing back then, as far as me personally, I had to realize is that, we was always about condition, back there. We would have our warm-up would be, 20, 25 sprints,
Boys.
warming up, I mean, we had the one guy came from a Texas Tech receiver, and he came over there, and we got done with warm-up, he started taking off all his stuff, and y'all started laughing at him, like, where are you going?
Just a warm-up.
He said, aren't we done? It's like, that's warm-up. That
We
dude
still had
got in his car and
we
sped
had
out
a
on
whole
that.
nother hour left to work out.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that I've had to learn and change is that more rest and being more explosive through everything that we do. Back then, I didn't know a lot. I was, playing it by ear, and back then everything was, let's do a whole bunch, and we was in great shape, and we were strong, but over time I realized less with a higher volume and more rest made my athletes a lot better, made them faster, made them more
explosive.
efficient and explosive out on the field. As far as training now with guys, I just see too much heavy. Everything is heavy now.
Yeah.
Everything is heavy. These kids, they're blowing out their knees. It's not a coincidence. It's because everything is heavy.
Yeah.
Back then you were squatting parallel. Now you squatting with 800
Low
pounds
parallel.
with your butt to your calf.
Crazy.
And then they wonder why these kids have these knee injuries.
And
That's why they have these knee injuries.
And they're sprinters,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah. There's no need for a sprinter to be squatting. They should be squatting explosive and not heavy, but everything is heavy now. Bench press is heavy. Power cleans is heavy, and there's no form to it anymore. Back then, everything we did, there was, I would tell you and Devin, if you can squat 400, you go in there and you act like your max is 200 pounds.
Right.
Because like I said, it's just putting too much weight on your
It's too
back,
much
you're
weight on your
sore.
back.
And like I said, when you go look at these guys outside of James Harrison's and J.J. Watts, but you also look at J.J. Watt, he do all
Always
that
hurt.
weight and he's always hurt.
Always hurt.
And but our NFL guys, AB, OBJ,
Lightweight.
our guys, they're not out there coming in here squatting 500 pounds. They're putting 225 on, knocking those out, being explosion through those explosive through those reps. And that's what I try and tell a lot of parents. And that's when they come in here. I say, hey, check this out. When your kid coming to do speed and explosion work, they will get rest. They be like, hey, go, go, go. I'm like, we're not wasting time. You're going to be wasting money when we go, 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 and it's an hour workout, and in 25 minutes he's done or she's done, and now we're just basically dragging around. I was like, they have to be explosive. You can't get faster if you don't run fast.
not
You
logic.
can't jump higher if you're not jumping high.
Yep.
And that's what they don't understand until they start seeing, man, these games. I'm like, I'm telling you, that's why, because we've learned this. Just because you go do a lot doesn't mean anything. It wasn't efficient in what you did. If you go run 100 100s, you ran more hundreds than me and I only ran 8. But I ran 8 4-speed 100s. You ran 2 4-speed 100s and jogged 98 of them. You ran.
That's a good point, because that goes back to the whole track thing.
Yeah.
And this is the part that I've learned over time, the same as you. More is not better.
Exactly.
When you say, for instance, these guys will say, well, we're going to go out and run 20 150s.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to run the first 4 or 5 of them. They're going to be all right. Mm-hmm. But then the other 15 of them is so raggedy.
Yep.
Waste
So
of time.
You're constantly trying to, and the other thing that I've learned about over time is that technique, it's sort of like business. Location, speed, technique. I don't care if you run a 4.840 and I can improve your technique, you're going to run 4.6 high.
Exactly.
Yep.
We've always said we can knock 2/10 off,
Yep.
but it's a process and it's a methodology to it. Resting in between reps. I've learned that over time with track and 400-meter runners. 400-meter runners used to be, you had to run 800s and 600s in practice. What for? What for? 3s, 2s, and you stretch them out and give plenty of recovery. 150s.
Run them hard.
Hey, I want you to be at 90%
Yep, run them hard.
on every one of the reps. But we're not going to do 20 reps. We may do 8. And if I see my athlete struggling,
Yep.
then I'm going to say, you know what? We're done for the day.
That's another thing trainer has to realize.
You got to be able to back off and make adjustments based on your athlete. Everybody wants to cookie cut and train
Yep.
everybody the same way.
Exactly.
Taylor Blackshaw, for instance. 250s, 200s workouts, she's horrible at them. Because lactic acid builds up, she's real,
Got
you know how
huge
she's
legs.
built.
Yep.
So we've learned that, hey, 60s, 80s, 150s, and I can stack that and still get the conditioning. Instead of giving 3-minute or 5-minute recovery off of a sprint, maybe I'll give her 3 minutes recovery
Exactly.
and decrease the load. So now she can get through it and don't go lactic and start swaying her body and losing, losing posture and all that stuff.
Losing technique.
Everything starts to fall apart.
Exactly.
So the biggest thing for me when we started was just that. It's like, hey, all of the nuances on getting someone faster, it's not about how much you put on them. It's really more about how much you take off.
Take off.
Exactly.
Because most of these kids, you got me on a tangent now. Most of these kids train, track athletes in particular. They go to track practice, then they come to us.
Yep.
They used to be our track kids. So if they go to track practice, why am I going to bring them out with me and give them another hour of 150s, 200s, 250s, 300s? You don't need that. We're going to do 60s, we're going to do 80s, we're going to give you plenty rest, but our dynamic stretch and our preparation to run is going to be intense.
Exactly.
And what I mean by intense, I mean, dynamic stretch is, I want you to sweat.
Yeah.
I want you to get lathered up and
lathered
warm
up.
up. So now that when we go into our 60s, our 80s, our 150s, it's a breeze for you. And I'm not going to run you 6 150s. What for? I can only get 2 quality 150s, but guess what? I want you at 90%.
Exactly.
So that's that's another thing that we've learned over time.
Yeah.
And anybody tells you, or talk to anybody that's a trainer, because I didn't want to call it strength training, I didn't want to call it speed and agility.
Yeah.
If you are a trainer, you should be well-rounded and you should understand your athletes and know and study what loads to put on them so that you can get best results and maximize their efforts.
That's the main
Exactly.
thing to study.
You got to
People go on the internet and they'll see a workout. We're gonna do this workout.
I have
And
no
you
idea what it's about.
No.
And, it's like when you was growing up. People say, "Hey, that guy's over there watching our workout." What I always tell you, it don't matter. He still has to know what he's doing. He can take our workout and run everything we've ran, but he still has to understand what he's doing. He has to be able to explain to his athletes what he's doing and why he's doing it.
Exactly.
That's one thing we've always done. If we're gonna do A, B, and C, I'm gonna tell you why we're doing A, B, and C, because you may not be with me forever. You may not be with me for a week or 2 weeks. So you're gonna understand everything that we do because I want you to know. But if that guy's over there watching around the tree, and we had a whole bunch peeking around trees,
Oh, yeah.
but he had no idea why we was doing what we was doing. He had no idea what we was doing. So he would just take a workout and he would just go put it out there, and they would do it, but they had no concept. So if you have no concept to what you're teaching, you can't improve. And at some point, there's gonna be an athlete or a parent say, "Why are we doing this?" And you can't tell them, or you try to give them this BS excuse. They gonna know that you giving them a BS excuse and you really don't know what you're doing.
A good point too is AD
Yeah.
and the work that we were doing with AD, and he was like, "Man, we didn't do this we didn't do this at. Should I say the school?
Yeah. At OU.
We didn't do this at OU.
Well, like saying the thing about it is, there's no problem saying OU because they ain't doing that at Texas, they ain't doing that at Kansas, they ain't doing that.
They ain't doing it.
And in college, you're not doing a lot of. You're doing like maybe, I probably can count, not days, drills. We probably did 4 speed drills at KU.
Period.
Like I say, it's just not like it's, and that's true. Can't nobody dispute that. If any college athlete will tell you, it's about still old school training. Just how much can we get in the 2 hours, and we doing conditioning. Like we doing 1,000-yard shuttles.
Yep.
Like why am I doing a 1,000-yard shuttle? And like, why do you think? Yes, the guys do get bigger, right? So they put on a little more weight, but with that weight, you should be putting on good weight, right? Because no different than I'm putting on weight. The sprinter that was in high school put on weight by the time he turned 26, but he got faster. He was running a 10.4 in high school, running 9.9 in college, running 9.7 in the pros. It's opposite in football though, because you don't do speed work. You come out of high school running a 4.37. You go into the combine 4.47. You get slower like that, and they did that and these were laser times that they're going by. Spark, Under Armour on lasers, not the hand times. They're looking at laser times of high school athletes and those same athletes when they ran in the combine. 5 to 78% had slower combine times than they did in high school. Yes, you put on weight, but like I said, sprinters put on weight too. But you're not doing speed work in college football. You're doing a lot of heavy lifting, squatting, and then you're just running around the field conditioning all day.
And I really, be honest with you, if I were a college coach, my skill position people, that's going to be their off season is speed work.
But there are a few though. Oregon, they do
Oregon,
that. In Baylor,
Florida State used
that's
to.
what I say. But Baylor was probably Oregon with their running backs, and of course they had to receive. But the Oregon's running backs was their thing, smaller, and then Baylor's wide receivers, and even the running backs too was C-Strunk and them. Them dudes literally were never ever big. They
could run.
Blazing. RG3 throwing fades to everybody across that board, and it showed you what speed does. And when Baylor went from the worst team in the Big 12 to winning titles and having Heisman's and having receivers drafted year after year, because you can't teach that speed unless you teach that speed. And they think you can teach it by not teaching it. No. You can't squat and get fast. So you got to run fast, and you got to teach people how to run. But they don't take out the time. That's not an important thing to them in college
And
football.
guys at SMU right now, what they always talk about SMU skill people, they got a track team. Same guys at SMU right now.
Yep.
Coach Cass.
Yeah.
Dude, I tell people all the time that's my favorite college strength coach, because
He gets it.
he lets them stay fast.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
even with Lanier, remember Lanier talking about he couldn't even bench press because he get too big.
Yeah.
So Coach Cass wouldn't let him bench press, and that's how he kept his speed.
Yeah, he came in.
You know.
Sam came in squatting probably
People talk about
550 as a
SMU
true
and their
freshman.
speed. Same dude
Old
over
dude
there.
was like, hey, I want you to get stronger, but we're not putting no more weight on
Yep.
you. Like
We're
he's
not
like,
putting that
we're
weight
not
on
about to bulk you up like that and make you slow. He literally told him, the day you stepped on this campus as a freshman, you was squatting 550, bro, at wide receiver. We're not putting no more weight on you, and you're going to start doing less weight because I got to keep you fast and not bulk you up.
He got Sam faster.
But what happens as you get stronger, your muscles become more rigid and they become short.
Yeah,
And what you don't want for a sprinter is a short gait.
yeah,
When you get to max velocity, you got to have good posture and you have to be able to open up. The only time that being short and explosive works in track is on the front end of the
yep,
race.
coming out the blocks.
Yep.
It's out of the block. So
blocks.
a lot of parents out there that you guys are running to different camps, and you're doing all these different drills, and you got the receiver coach and you got the DB guy, and all that's fine and dandy. But you better have someone that's going to get your kid faster,
Faster.
because
Yep.
speed, the first thing they want to do is put the kid on the watch. And who gets all the attention? It's the one that's running 4.4
Yep.
You could be the heck of an athlete and run 4.7, 4.6s.
You're not going to college.
They're not even gonna see you.
Nope.
When you go to the cattle call and you got all them kids, you gotta separate yourself with something.
Yep.
And so speed is that denominator.
And let me tell you the funniest thing is, Henry Ruggs,
Yep.
DK Metcalf,
That guy's ridiculous.
Hayward Bay,
Yep.
Tristan Holiday or Trendon Holiday.
Ended.
These were all talks of the combine, right? And none of them were coming into the combine as that guy as a wide receiver. But they took over the combine with their speed.
With their speed. Yep.
So that's what I tell them. You get these guys running 4.3s and they're all going first round. My man that broke the combine record.
4.22.
He's about to, I seen them talking about getting him traded from the Bengals.
Yeah.
First round
Can't
pick,
get on
broke the combine. But with that being said, I still was your first pick because you seen how fast I ran.
Yeah.
And it always gives you a chance. Michael Crabtree broke every last record in college football history at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And was taken after Hayward Bay
Couldn't run.
because he didn't run his 40 because his foot was broke, but they seen Hayward Bay ran a 4.3, so the Raiders took him.
Yep.
Henry Ruggs. Cool, I have nothing against Henry Ruggs. I like all the Bama wide receivers. But this is the thing that kills me. You watched Ruggs and Judy. They weren't, remember, this isn't Judy and Ridley and Cooper, like comparing guys that and Julio that were Bama greats but didn't play on the same team. They played every game together.
Wow.
Ruggs and Judy. and Judy was taken after Ruggs, and I've never watched one Alabama game and heard any announcer say, hey, Ruggs is a better wide receiver than Judy. I've never sat with anybody. It was Judy, 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 until one thing came. We got to see how fast Ruggs
Put
was.
it on the clock.
And Ruggs might not pan out. And he might. You don't know. But I know Judy I would always put my money on a guy like Judy. I've seen this man run routes, and he's fast enough. 4.4 guy, right? But that's the thing when I tell guys, it don't matter if you run a 4.4 or somebody else run a 4.2. Don't matter if you run a 4.5 and somebody run a 4.4, especially if they are good. They might not be as good as you, but they're good enough to let that speed take over. And that's what we've been telling parents for years. You can't find me nobody that you would have bet any type of money that would say, oh yeah, Ruggs is going to get taken before Judy in the draft. Never. I was like,
Yeah.
what? First receiver? And that shows speed.
Who would have thought that Marquise Goodwin would be playing in the league as long as he has? Now,
Not speed.
no knock on Marquise. Great person.
No, but
great
he
guy.
was a track guy. Nobody
He's a
like
track guy.
and that's just real. Like I said, we're being real on him. When everybody saw Marquise come out, bruh. First of all, the league, nobody thought he was gonna play college football when he first said that. Oh, that's just a track guy.
Yeah.
He can't even catch the ball running a fade.
Yeah.
Like that was the biggest thing. He can't even catch. And this man is a beast in the league. Like, right? Like he can catch, but he can run past people, and that speed is going to kill at all times. He's a world-class speedster. There's a place for you on that field.
You know, I was talking to Kevin Murray's dad, Kyler Murray's dad, and one of the kids that, matter of fact, is Omari Walker.
I was gonna bring him up.
I went to, they had an indoor workout, and Amari's at McKinney High now, and Amari's a 10-6 guy as a sophomore. And he'll, didn't have a junior year, and he's the last of the kids that I'm gonna mess with, but Amari will probably go 10-4.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kyler's dad, Kevin Murray, was out there with him, and Amari's running routes, and Kyler's throwing to him, and they're like, "Man, who's this kid?" Well, what caught the eye?
Speed.
So who's fast? He's
Run
like,
4.2.
so Kevin Murray was like, "Jordan, this boy here, man, he got something. He's special." And I said, "Yeah, well, he likes track," and he's like, "Shoot, they ain't got motherfuckers like this
Yeah.
in the league." Excuse me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Kevin. If you know Kevin
Yeah.
Murray, that's how he talk.
Yeah.
What he got, they ain't got, and they buying it. So again, it's about the speed game. It's about
100%.
and this is his first year playing varsity football.
Mark couldn't even get on the field. Went to SMU, ran a 4.2.
He ran 4.2.
He went to what, 3 camps? 4.2, 4.2, low 4.3.
The only guy that was faster than him was that Deuce Harmon, not faster. Amari would win. Deuce Harmon, who's the number 1 cornerback in the country,
Yeah.
had the second fastest time. So Deuce Harmon's running 4.4 consistently.
Yeah.
Deuce Harmon's like, I saw him, Denton Guy, they played Denton Guy, and I saw him. I was like, I'm expecting a 6-foot corner. He's like 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he can get out the way.
Yeah, that's that thing, speed, and that's what we tell everybody. You've never heard anybody say, dude, you're too fast to play. But you hear a lot of times, you're just not fast enough, man. Like, you catch, you run good routes, but you're not going to get no separation,
separate.
you know what I mean? And then if you are getting separation, that's old football, like as far as separating on curls and all that. I need separation on the goal ball and the post and the corner. We're trying to put these points on the board. Yes, no, it is good to be an underneath receiver and all that, but a lot of these guys now that are getting faster, like I said, we're starting now to worry about the routes more and the skill. They can get in and out of routes as well. So if they can get in and out of routes and they can leave somebody, just your stuff, like I said, and there's always some people that sneak in, but we're talking about what these people are looking for.
Absolutely.
We all marry who we marry and talk to who we talk to, but who are we looking for? Like you said, right now, we offer and get the kids we get at KU and Syracuse and Bama or whatever, but what kid am I looking for? Who I get is who I get, but I'm looking for the kid that's running a 4.2, and I'm trying to get him.
Everybody wants the 4.2, 4.3 kid.
Yep.
And everybody wants a 6'2 corner. How many of them out there that run 4.4, 4.2?
Exactly.
4.3s?
Exactly. So,
Yeah, what you look for, what you really want, ain't always what you get.
yeah, but I'm trying to find it though. But
Well,
that,
yeah, I'm
and that's
fishing.
what I tell people. Nobody's out here saying, "Man, I want a receiver that can, really get in and out of his breaks and runs a 4.8. Now, if I get that kid and he turns out to be good, but they're not going to the campus saying, that kid gets out of his breaks and I don't care they run, we'll take him. But if I could have got a kid similar to what he's doing out there and he's running a 4.3, 4.4, that's what I'm looking for. And that's what we tell guys. There's always going to be a this or that, a left or a right, and, anomaly of who gets to do what. But when you go to this camp, the reason why they're running them 40s is because they're trying to see who can go. If it didn't matter, why do we do that? Why don't we just go out there and play 7-on-7, do one-on-ones and football drills? And we're just looking for strictly football players. We want to see who can run and jump and see the athleticism behind those kids and then see how we can help them with football. People don't realize Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was a running back when we played him at Oklahoma State. He would literally the only thing Tyreek Hill did at receiver at Oklahoma State was line up outside against a linebacker for obvious reasons because he's a running back and run straight down the field. Yeah. He didn't run routes when we was playing. We did returns, running back, and then they lined him outside and see if he could. And he's running around like most running backs do trying to find a ball. But somebody said, super fast. Mm-hmm. We can teach him how to judge this ball a little better. I can't teach nobody how to go run like Tyreek Hill.
Did you ever see his high school track video?
I saw some, yeah.
Unbelievable. He was like 10-2, 10-3.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. He broke, I believe, like the JUCO record in like the 200 and stuff. Like, dude
was unbelievable.
Speed to get you in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can't teach you how to run 4.2, but they can teach you how to catch a football.
Exactly. All the time. You see guys all the time that come in with catching problems and this and that and end up being, good receivers or players. Oh, yeah, and it's at the high school level, the college level, the pro level, all type of levels. But you don't see a guy come into the league at like 4.4, and then like, he entered the league at a 4.4 and then ended up running a 4.2 when he left? No. But you'll be like, man, remember when that dude came in the league? He wasn't that good. And like Tyreek Hill wasn't like, nobody thought that. Like, now that dude is a monster. Like, I didn't think that, like, I tell people, I give credit where it's due. I said, I seen Metcalf. It was a combine thing. He swole. Yeah. He fast. I'm like, look at his routes. He chopped. Hey, Metcalf a dog. I give credit where it's due. That dude is a dog, and he's going to be a monster. And it helps you playing with Russell Wilson.
Absolutely.
But that man's work ethic. He don't say nothing. He stay out the way. He just put up stats. He went, for like 250 and 3 touchdowns yesterday and 14 catches. Dude don't say nothing. He just works and does his thing.
And that's what I like. Play with yesterday when he outran the defense, literally?
Yeah, that.
They had him pinned on the sidelines.
Shoot the play last week when the dude, he was in the end zone. The dude runs through the pick six.
Crazy.
The number one safety in the league runs through the pick six, and Metcalf catches him. And then, like, they had him mic'd up, and the dude was like, how did he catch me? Like, I'm running through it, and yeah, but.
Without that speed, though, DK Metcalf wouldn't be where he is.
No.
Exactly.
That's what got him in the door.
And now you have chance to get with guys like Russ, work on your craft, and then it's over.
But DK Metcalf, too, we have to also say that this guy is a freak.
Yeah.
What is he, 6'3"?
Yeah, probably about 6'3", like 225, 230, and like I think he had like 3% body fat.
And can roll.
432.
So all you parents out there that have these young men or your kids who are 5'9", 5'10", you better hear the call because those kids, you better be able to run.
Yep.
Because everybody's looking for. They'll take a 6'1" corner that runs 4'6".
Because he's tall.
Like Sherman wasn't fast at all.
No.
Cromartie, because he was like that first real tall one, Antonio Cromartie, that was just killing out there.
Fast.
At least that I had, but they're NFL guys, so that's speed, but they're not elite speed in their genre of the guys of their peers. But we're gonna take that, and that's what people don't realize. You got to know where your kid is at, what position they're playing, and where the sport is evolving to. Like when I was coming out, you did like corners like me, short, quick, the Asante Samuels, you know what I mean? Yep. And you got all those guys. Now they're like, hey man, we want some tall, lanky guys that played receiver back in the day and can get their hand on. Like that man Diggs yesterday. He shows you what a guy that played receiver looks like tracking that ball. Yeah. That's what he had too. That one on the sideline and the one in the end zone. And that's what you have to know as a parent when you do all these DB drills, but he ain't catching the ball. They want guys that are getting takeaways that can. That man faded to the ball. The other one, he got his knee down, trying to drag his feet, and that's another evolution. Also, what's the game evolving to? When I was the minority of type of receivers you want, now I'm dang near the majority. Bama got all their receivers look like me.
All of them look.
Like when I was looking, Bama, you know, I had the Julios and all that. Now all they got is small little short guys. It's evolving. Like you can be fast.
Those guys went to the secondary
Yep.
because you got to be able to defend the spread offense now, right?
Yep.
It's speed. Even in the pro, it's all about speed now. You got to defend.
You got to defend.
Right.
So those
Yep.
6'2" corners, 6'2" safeties that were playing receiver before,
Yep.
those guys now they're playing DB. So parents out there that's got a basketball player son that's 6'2", but
Playing center.
playing center, hear me, put him on the football field, let him play DB. He got a chance. They love him. A good example of that is a kid Corey had last year. Corey's
Yeah.
my other son. He's a football coach. And neither one of my boys were big kids.
Yeah.
But one thing that they could do was run. But he's got a kid that he got ended up getting in school, and he was 6'2". Scooter and I would go to the games last year. We call him Toast. There go Toast again. He got burned again. Can't believe it. He gets a scholarship. Full ride. Why? 6'2" corner.
Yeah.
And he ran a 4.65 40. To me, if you run 4.65, that's really a 4.7.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, I mean, obviously he can get better at it. And by the matter of fact, he better find a speed coach if he wants to get on the field. I mean,
That's just what it is, like I said, because you gotta but you gotta just realize where you're at and where the game is. Like I said, when I was coming out, it was like, hey dude, you're a small receiver, you gonna do punt returns, kick returns, and be a gadget play guy.
Yeah.
I ended up, going and doing my thing and starting as the wide out, but that's not what they were looking for. And now they're looking for the Judys and the Ruggs and I don't know his first name. I always see Smith. I know his last name is Smith, but D. Smith out there that is at Bama, and he go for like 200 yards every game now that the other wide receiver just got hurt, and all those guys are like under 6 foot, and they're skinny. And so the game has evolved to like, hey, we'll shrink these guys down because the quarterback's running around a little more. The quarterbacks are getting shorter, faster. So that position's changing, right? The tight ends from where the tight end was like in a day when Tony Gonzalez was like, whoa, this is some freak. Like, now everybody's like that. Like, that's what the tight end is. Like, you're a pass catcher. So you have to evolve with your position as the game evolves a position. Because now, like I said, we like those big DBs. Like, they're literally like, hey, where's the 6'1" guys at? Where the 6'2" guys at? Like, and not for safety. That was 100% safe. Nah, we throwing them boys outside now. And they running around. So that's the biggest thing is trying to find that.
You got to evolve and know this stuff.
You got to know it. You got
to know this stuff as a trainer. Problem is we have a lot of trainers, and as a trainer now, you have to know more than one thing.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And if you don't, you need to find somebody who knows more than one thing.
Yep.
You can run my son through ladders and cones and routes, but if you can't get him faster, it doesn't matter. He can have the best hands in the state, but if he can't run, it doesn't matter.
I've had a lot of kids like that, and I tell them,
it doesn't matter.
Why do you think Duncanville's, Cedar Hills, DeSoto's, they always get wide receiver offers, and don't knock on them, but not a lot of those kids for the amount of offers they get end up doing a lot of stuff in college, but they're super fast.
They're fast.
And then I've had kids out here in Forney, in Mesquite, in Plano, just not as athletic, but have put up 1,200 yards, 16 touchdowns, 87 catches, and go small D2.
Yep.
Just like
Speed.
your speed, man. Like, they'd be like, man, but look at the kid at Duncanville. He only had like 450 yards. But shoot, he only had 10 catches because all of them was 40-yard touchdowns.
And what do the coaches do when they recruit kids, really? They project.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you run 4.6 and, you might have had 1,200 yards, 1,500 yards receiving, but you've already maximized your ability. I can't project you to come to SEC or the Big 12 with a 4.6, 4.7, 40.
And that's what I tell them. It's not going to work at the next level. We know what worked here when you played only one D1 guy on your schedule.
Yep.
Yeah.
You realize you got 12 games, you're playing 12 guys that are all D1. and that's what I tell these guys. And I'm not saying that you can't do it. Jerry Rice wasn't a burner, right? There's always going to be this, that, whatever. But the thing is, these guys are saying most of the time this is what works.
Well, Jackson's not a speed.
Yeah, no, and he's not. But the one thing about Jackson more than other guys, though, explosiveness in the similar with me, right? I was a low when I was coming out of North. I was running low 4.4s, high 4.3s, but my game speed was even faster than that. That's the thing about Jackson.
He don't slow down out of break.
His game speed
absorb
is
force.
way faster than what his 40 is.
Yeah.
And that's where some guys I say, hey, yes, he didn't run a good 40, but how many times has he got caught? How does he look going in and out of those routes when he catches the ball? Is he running through the ball? Yes, you do run a 4.3, but your game speed is very slow. It's very slow.
And his back end, Jackson's back end, as well as Jerry Rice, you used him as an
Yeah.
example. And I kind of compare Jackson to that kind
Yeah,
of
like,
receiver.
yeah.
Not to say Jackson's going to be a Hall of Famer. Hopefully he will.
He'll be in a high school Hall of Fame, I'll tell you that much.
Definitely high school Hall of Fame.
He'll be in that one.
But those guys, if you look at their back end of their run, their posture and their mechanics it looks like a track guy.
Yeah.
So they can absorb force, get in and out of breaks, but then when they put their foot on it, they're not decelerating. How many times have you seen a real quick guy?
Yep.
Then they start running in sand. Now,
Let me tell you the funniest thing, and he won't even tell you. He know it's true. I ain't never seen no one person get caught on a 1 yard line more than my boy Reggie Fish. That boy got caught on a 1 yard line at least 12 times that I've seen. Now, get out on everybody, but like I said, get out there and then. But like when I say, most people that played with me or against me, like you're the quickest person I've ever played against, especially going through high school, sliding to college. I worked out with Fish. That man was 3 times quicker than me. I've never seen nobody as quick as this dude in my
Fish could get in and
life.
out, man. He could do his thing.
This man, boom, put his foot in the ground. He running sideways for 3-4 steps, go right back on the field, sideways again. And but it was just like that long speed, like you were talking about.
And
Can
imagine-
you hold that?
Imagine if he was taught max velocity technique and he could get in and out of break, get on a break, and hold it.
Exactly.
Because nobody gets faster. That's a misnomer.
Teach everybody that the whole time.
You gotta
I teach
hold the
that so
top
much.
end, and you hold the top end mechanically.
Yep.
You know, I mean, if you're going 100, DJ Metcalf didn't get faster after probably the first 10, 15, 20 meters. But what he did was once he was at top end,
He held it.
he held it.
And
Oh,
old dude
boy.
was.
He starts.
And that's a thing, like I said, because right, we teach our athletes and our parents. We're trying to educate them. So I always use it. I always like to just put numbers on it so they can understand. I was like, hey, you got 2 cars. One car goes 100 miles per hour. The other car goes 95 miles per hour. So which car is technically the fastest? The 100 mile per hour car is the fastest, depending on how long the race is. Now, if it's a short race, I can get down. But a lot of these times, our speed drops before we get to whatever finish line it is.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, in football, you break a big run, even people running 50 yards, not even the whole 100, they're slowing down by the time they're getting caught from across the field. So I said, I get to 100, and this one gets to 95, but the 100 mile per hour car only holds it for 20 meters, and I hold 95 for the next 60. At some point, it looks like I'm speeding up to catch him. No, I'm just losing speed at a slower rate than he is, and he's just drastically dropping. That's what they don't know. I'm like, you think these dudes is just running faster at 150 meters on a 200? No, they're holding their form.
Core and glute strength.
core and glute strength.
Core
You're
and
right.
glute strength. Once your glutes go down, strengthen your glutes, you slow down.
And the core part of it, it keeps you upright
Keeps
in
you
a good
Exactly, that posture.
Once your hips start sinking, your stride gets shorter.
Yep.
If you stay tall, your stride.
And that's
stays
all you hear from me saying here. Stand up, stand up, stand up. And they're like, huh, what do you mean? I'm like, yes, you can't stand
Squat.
in a position of with your hips down. I'm like, you're blocking your gait of standing up. But so that it's so funny, like all those things that we're talking about, I use all those analogies probably every day, at least 5 times a day. And I probably say stand up. Because, you know, we do a lot of speed in here, probably at least 50 times a day. Stand up, stop sinking. Stand up, stop sinking. Stand up, stop sinking.
And
That's
being
all we
able-
talk about.
And being able to apply force to the ground, boy, we're getting. I could talk about this stuff all day. It's also the other part of that is early in your sprints, and even on the back half of it, when your max velocity phase, it's about being able to apply force to the ground,
Yeah,
absorb that force. Now, as a receiver, you're absorbing force and transferring it, right?
yeah.
As a track person, you're continually absorbing that force and you're not going left or right. So you're going straight. So early on, you know, I've had one of my athletes come back and say, my track coach says, Taylor, my track coach says, I run too hard. And I'm like, well, I've never heard that before. Not for a short sprinter.
Yeah.
Attack the ground, force to the ground.
If you tapping, you ain't running.
If you shuffling,
You ain't running.
you ain't running. And they would do a lot of these wickets, so where they're reaching. I see people all the time, they'll take wickets out. Ladders, wickets, and cones. That's what a lot of these guys do, right? So when you're talking about max velocity, and that's the top end of your run, when you're reaching and locking out and pulling the ground to you, there's two things going to happen. One, you're going to decelerate. Two, you're going to pop your hamstring.
Yeah.
Okay? Neither one of those are any good. So when I see guys out, I don't say, I just look. I'm like, well, what the heck has he got the wicket so far apart from where the runner has to reach for it?
Exactly.
I want you to go through the wickets with a high knee where you're applying force to the ground every
Under your
stride.
body.
And that's correct. You gotta, everything has to be lined up. Shoulders above the hips, foot strike just behind the butt. That's it. So you talk about being able to maintain max velocity, but the first thing is you gotta learn how to apply force to the ground.
Yep.
And a lot of the Archuleta stuff is applying force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
A lot of the lunges and the bounds that we do and the broad jumps, all of that stuff running out of a lunge, running out of a bound, taking a bound from a bound to a sprint.
Yeah.
Okay, it's applying the force to the ground and then transferring that force straight.
Exactly.
Sounds simple, but
All that hill work we did.
all the hill work.
We've been doing hills for what, 24, 25 years? That hill work,
Forever.
you cannot run up a hill hard unless you're applying pressure into the ground.
You gotta apply force.
And that was always one of our biggest things for teaching how to run properly. Because you can't run with your feet behind you up a hill, and you can't reach out
Ain't gonna
and
work.
run up a hill. Everything has to be up under your body properly. You have to drive your hips, you have to drive your knees, and you have to apply into the ground. So, we started hills, like I said, I was doing them back in the early 80s, but as far as our training, we've been doing them from day one on the hill, and that's probably been one of the most successful things we've done. That's how we taught Devin and
Oh, Dev.
Dez Lewis. Oh my goodness, Dez Lewis, that was the slowest dude in the world.
Bambi
Dez Lewis,
Jr.
and Dez Lewis, I tell him all the time, Dez Lewis was the worst athlete I ever trained.
He'll
Played
tell
4
you he
years in the
wasn't, but
NFL.
I told you, I don't know how that happened, but yeah, no.
When he got
but
here
that worked though.
with us, we would tell Dez to run a route, and Dez would fall during the route because he didn't know
That's
how
why
to
we
run.
called. That's why we called him Bambi Jr.
That's why we called him
Tony was
Bambi.
Bambi. Dez was
Put
Bambi
him
Jr.
on that hill, and that kid's work ethic was just amazing.
Yep.
And he learned how to run, and he ended up breaking records at Central Arkansas. He played 4 years in the league, and to see that from the day I seen him, I was like, this kid won't play it down in high school.
Well, one of those things about the hill too, you cannot run improper
Nope.
and run the hill. The only thing that you can do improper is probably squatting.
Squat or lean too far.
Yeah, but you're not efficient up the hill.
Yep.
Exactly. Not. You can run up the hill bad, right? But you can't get up there in a good manner by doing it wrong. If you want to get up the hill efficiently and not be struggling and be able to do multiple sprints up there, you have to run correctly. And that's the biggest thing. We did so much hill work, and I've also been taking one of my kids over to the hill out here in Florida now, just getting them running routes on the hill, what we do, showing them how to do that, and just putting them in positions of showing you how to use your body, create force into the ground, and really rock and roll. That hill is a game changer. Before I got the facilities, I trained at the hill literally 98% of the time. We had access to every football field in Mesquite, turf and everything. We stayed at that hill. Stayed at that hill, regardless of we was running routes. Chris Harris Jr., Tyler Patman, Tobin Orporum, all my NFL guys, Quentin Demps. I'm putting all them boys, like, we ain't going to the field today. We about to do all our back pedals, all our drills, all our change of direction on that hill today.
Yeah.
But let's transfer to as we go. So now we've talked about kind of what y'all had in the beginning with training, where we are now. But what about TRP? Well, it is TRPT now, but raw power from when y'all started it to where we're at now with TRPT with right? Multiple facilities, about to get maybe 2 more facilities. We got a podcast. You see, we got a whole clothing line, got our own shoes. We got
took it to another level.
yeah. So talk about like kind of what it was like for back then, and even when like. Say we would discuss it. Remember, we would sit in the living room, right? And I would paint this grand picture of like, I'm telling y'all.
And I'd be going, man, I don't know about all that.
remember, because it was like that,
Stay with your niche.
that young and old generation, right? Back in the day when somebody would come from Rockwall, 20 minutes away, they're like, hey, we doing something. Somebody drove 20 minutes
Yeah.
to, come work out with us. Oh, we're going from Garland to Mesquite, you know what I mean? You were just trying to do what you were doing in your city, and maybe even not even your city, the school in that, one of the schools, and get those athletes at that school. So now we've been in over, like, I believe, 30 different countries. We've partnered with Google, JP Morgan Chase, Adidas, like I said, multiple facilities. So just talk about a little bit of that, because I remember like just being a young guy and seeing a future of like where we could be at now. Because I knew where technology was going, right? Because remember, I was like one of the first ones, like, hey, we need to put our workouts on there so everybody can see. And it was like, oh, no, don't put nothing.
It was me.
Kevin.
Man, don't give up the formula. And I'm like, now I'm like, oh, you were spot on to something. And I can speak to this if you don't mind, Damon, first. I'm amazed at where you've taken the concept.
Yeah.
And how you've taken and mustered all of those things together that you've learned over time and putting out a product. I sit here and I look at this facility, look next door. I got a grandbaby that comes over here. And when I come through here, I'm amazed and I'm very, very proud of you and what you're doing. But I always said, then we're gonna make money.
Yeah.
I've always said that about it.
Yeah, 100%.
But I was the guy that said, man, don't be putting that stuff all on Instagram, this, that, and the other, because I didn't understand.
But it makes sense though, because think about it. When y'all were training, what was it? You're in Mesquite, I'm in Garland. Don't touch my boys. I won't touch your boys. I don't want you to know what I'm doing because I need my boys to stay with me, and you stay over there, and everybody just has their block. You stay on your block.
We never had that.
But no, not them. But I'm just talking about like in general of that's how training was.
That's how it was
like
back
stay away from my kids. I stay away from your kids. Yeah. But now it's hey, we can trainers partner up. Plus, but it's also when people go because there are so many trainers now. When that was what I was trying to explain when I was like, hey, now it's like. I don't want to guess what you're doing if I'm about to pay you now, because now I see what this guy's doing. I know how good he is. Can you show me if you're good or not? Because now I just wasted $50. And when if I had something on Instagram, be like, oh, that dude's trash. And now it's about showing how good your product is instead of saying, well, come find out and see what's behind door number one. No. What's your Instagram? I want to see. Who have you trained? Where's your website? And that was always a funny thing, back in the beginning of like, hey, and not even just putting it on there, but even just the thinking of like, I was like, man, y'all do realize, I know we want to help people, but we can do it in a way bigger way. We can be an international brand. I was like, bro, they're like,
we was old.
What? How we gonna be an international brand? We just training in Mesquite.
We was old school.
There's no way. But like I said, but that's why I never really took offense to it. And like a lot of people don't realize, like I never took nothing personal. Yes, we all get frustrated because we're going back and forth, right? We all alpha males. But it never was personal. But like I tell people all the time, like at that moment when I seen what TRPT could be in 2020, back in 2014, remember y'all had that facility in Mesquite that y'all would go rent out.
Yep.
That little baseball facility or whatever. Remember, to this day, I still don't know where that facility is. So remember for about a year and a half to 2 years, y'all was really training by y'all's thing, and I was kind of doing my thing until Devin got out of college and Devin started training with me. I always tell people it's kind of like the Temptations. We had 2 Temptations. I was like, and it wasn't no beef, but I was like, hey, they kind of doing their thing, but I'm about to build this crazy idea that they're kind of be like, okay, young blood, go have at it. And I'm doing it. And I was like, and they'll see, and it'll all come back together again. And like I said, that also comes with, I have time with that. Yeah, like, I was like, y'all go over there. And then I'm over here, and like to this day, I was like, I still don't know where that facility is in Mesquite. They'd be like, it's over there. I'm like, where? But it wasn't nothing other than just being two different generations.
Yeah.
Y'all had y'all at some point, one day, God willing, I'll have a son and he'll be like, Pops, tell you, there's this new thing online.
That's what it's supposed to
And then I'm gonna be like, nah, bro, I'm telling you, I done did this. You see these facilities? This is how we got them. And then one day, gonna like, oh, we was in 7,500 square feet. We got 50,000 ones because of some crazy idea that this young dude that don't know nothing. And that's the coolest thing, is that it's always supposed to be built on. And
Better.
yeah.
One of the other things too that kind of evolved too was that for years we never made no money.
No.
It wasn't about
I'd
that.
be a millionaire
Yeah.
if I charged
And,
this
and-
what I
We,
could've.
we just, if you wanted to get better, that's what we
Just
did.
show up.
Just show
Just
up.
show up.
Yeah, no, that was big. That was the
So we
biggest thing.
couldn't-
Yeah.
We couldn't grow. We couldn't expand.
We
nothing
couldn't.
because we wasn't generating revenue.
Remember, what was my biggest thing? I said, hey,
Make
I
sense.
understand that we want to help and be charitable.
Yeah.
I said, but my biggest thing was you can't be charitable if you're a charity. I said, our training program is a charity. We ain't got no
It's a
money.
charity, man. It was
We
like-
ain't got no money. I'm like, I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm just saying I feel we should charge what we're worth. But around the time I was coming out was when
Things were
training
changing.
actually became a
it was
lucrative
changing.
deal.
It was changing.
Because like when I first started training, before we all came back together, I was only training for $10 an hour, like doing fitness and stuff. So it wasn't where you could literally slap down, hey, this is $100.
Yeah.
But that's what I started seeing. I'm like, people like really out here charge. Like the only person I knew that was really making money was Kyler Murray's pops. Like,
And D-Rob now.
yeah, but not, and even with them, they was making, D-Rob and Clay were
Knight.
making money. But Murray's pops was like, I ain't even gonna throw his prices out there. Y'all already know, if you know Murray's pops,
If
you
you
know
know
what his
Kevin
prices
Murray,
are
you
now.
Yeah.
And that boy was lining up 10 of them on Saturdays and Sundays at a rate that cat still ain't at. Like, he's still like 10 years in front of it.
To
But
tell you about Kevin, a guy, we was out there in McKinney, and a guy came, because he's not at Allen anymore.
yeah,
He uses the McKinney indoor, and a guy drove his son this summer from. He would bring his son from Houston.
yeah.
From Houston, 3-hour ride, get a hotel, do 2 days or whatever, a couple hours with Murray 2 days a week, and then he drive back to Houston.
Yeah.
Now the kid couldn't play dead in my mind, but
But that's what it is. That's the importance of trainers nowadays, and where, like I saw it going, that's no different than Dylan. He lived in Altus, Oklahoma.
Same.
They driving 5.5 hours, training 6 hours with me on Saturday. We would break it up into 2 big 3-hour sessions, 4 hours on Sunday, to like, hey, we doing all this, why don't we move to Mesquite? Like, think about that. Somebody will move their whole family to say,
Yeah.
hey, let's come train. And yes, there's more opportunities out here, but like that's where it started. It was like, hey, let's get out here in a better place. And then we got people who flown in from outside the country. Got people who stayed here for a week with their mom from New York. And that's what I was just starting to see. And that was just my thing. And like I said, it's hard to explain to like you all. Like we would have 100 kids at a camp. Charge $100 per kid. That's $10,000, right? And leave the camp at the end of the summer, which was a 10-week camp with $1,000. And you got
talking about the Mesquite camp?
yeah, North
man.
Mesquite. Like I'm
We
like,
make no
how you got
money.
100 kids that
Made no
that-
money.
at the price of $100 for a 10-week camp, and we literally made $1,000 between 4 or 5 traders.
And what I used to tell your dad was, well, hey man, let's just take the money and go buy some equipment.
Yeah,
Whatever you made, well here.
it wasn't to do anything,
Here's a
put no
couple
money.
$100. And we're like, oh man, let's just keep it moving.
Exactly.
And then one of our group decided that they wanted to branch off and make more money on their own. And we was like, deuces. But we'd be out there when you were in middle school, it'd be 60, 70 kids, 100 kids. sometimes.
100. And there was like 3 straight summers where it was 100 kids. That's
there was
like
a lot of kids.
right when I was coming into high school when we had
Yeah.
Fish, Antonio, and all that crew from
Can't remember
Mesquite,
all the
Art,
names.
North Mesquite.
Yeah.
You know, when Brandon and Trey was, all of them was
Brandon.
great. Me and Lanier was coming in, and it was all type
bunch
of
of
like,
kids.
that was like the glory days of like just Mesquite athletes where we was just sending like guys from like 2000, like you had the T Brown in them, then there was a little gap, and then came through our classes to Devin's class where like North Mesquite, we had like 6 guys going D1 like every year. And then Mesquite was good. They had Chris Burke, Adrian, Kelly, Jeremy.
See, I was on a hiatus at that
Yeah,
But see,
My kids were playing
Yeah.
college
yeah,
and minor league, so
Exactly.
I wasn't around.
Yeah.
you know, honestly, when I look back, that was probably my worst time as a trainer.
Why? Because I wasn't there?
Because at that time, I was one of those, I'm about quality.
Yeah.
And it was just too many kids.
Couldn't have
The
quality.
lucky thing is that I had high quality kids. Like I say, Damon, take
We was
the
running
receivers over
groups.
there.
Yeah, like our kids
You know,
in the
I
thing.
could tell this kid go run that. But, you know, I liked when it was like 30, 40 kids.
That was the best.
I could see everybody. I could put hands on everybody. And I could coach. When it got to the point there was that many people, you know, it broke down to where we was having stations. And I didn't like that part. We was having stations. And I just didn't like that part of the training. I liked where every day I could be there and I could go through the drills with them. Because, you know, I always worked out with them.
Yeah.
But it got to the point I couldn't do these things because
Got too big.
it got too big. And when it got that big, I really wasn't happy. Because, you know, like I said, I was never about the money.
Nah.
I was never about the money. So 100 kids didn't excite me. What excited me was give me 40 kids, and I got 40 kids going to college.
And watch them get better.
And watch them get better.
Yeah.
You know, the numbers got huge, astronomical for a camp that started out with one kid. But if I couldn't put hands on them and actually work with them to make them better, you know, I wasn't satisfied. I didn't like them years when we had all them kids. It was a great camp. Because like I said, I had people who knew what they could do that I could say, you know, like Damon and them, they was coaching when they was in high school because I was like, Damon, take
Run
them
them
over
through.
there and run them through these drills, teach them how to do this and do that. But if I couldn't visually do it myself, you know, it bothered me a lot. It really did. It bothered me that I couldn't do it. I just felt like I was cheating the kids because I wasn't instructing them on what to do.
Well, we took pride in what we did. I
Yeah.
think, too, for me on the track side of it, when I was with Garland
Yeah.
Track Club, Coach Ramon, Jesse still does it.
Yeah.
Jesse's got to be 80. I'm 65, so he's got to be 80. But we would have hundreds of kids out there, all in the black and gold, baby.
Yep.
And we'd go to track meets and we'd have all these kids, and it just got to a point where our intermediate group had grown to a point where I couldn't teach.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is saying, okay, this group over here, you guys go run 10 200s
Yeah.
just to keep you busy
Yeah, while we're doing this over
while
here.
we doing this over here. And so I identify what you're saying, and I think it happened as well when we came together and merged because we started growing. But that's exactly how, and now we shrunk everything down to where it's manageable. You know, I would always say here recently, before my COVID retirement, if I had more than 10 kids, we couldn't really get anything done with it. Because
Yeah.
teaching, it's like, if you look at it like it is, and it is to me and to us, it's teaching. It's like having 50 kids in a classroom. You
Can't do nothing, no,
all
it's
you doing is-
management.
You just manage it. You
It's
just
management.
hey, do this paperwork or whatever, do these exercises, turn them back into me at the end of the class.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody learning nothing. So I think a lot of what Damon is saying is so true, and I felt the same way. You want to do so much, but you can't because you got too many kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no,
only the
that's
ones
a
that
good-
got better, not to cut you off, but only the ones that got better were the elite athletes like yourself.
Yeah.
And Lanier and guys like
Because
that.
you're gonna get better regardless, because you understand
doing
it.
something.
If coach say go jump on that box, you know how to jump on it. Some of them literally need to, hey, put your arms back,
Yes.
throw them forward when you jump, land
Yeah.
like this, and you can't do that because then you got another 10 needing the same thing. So it'll be like, hey, well just wait for this so you don't hurt yourself. Don't do this one.
Yeah.
And then when we start running again, you'll be behind. But like there's certain things, and that's why I like when I come in here, like I try and keep all my groups 6, 8, 10 kids, you know what I mean, when we're doing the speed and explosion. And what a lot of people don't realize, like when I do position training, like 95% when I do position training, I tell people I only do one-on-one. I said because I want to teach the kid. I said because if one kid is really good and the other one's not, we're staying on something too long for this kid, or this kid, we're going too fast for this one.
Yeah.
I was like, I try and do it now. I said, like, if you got a couple of athletes from your school and you know they're pretty, you know, both around the same, but that's on you. I don't create groups. If you want to do group training, you bring the group to me. So that parent can't be mad to say y'all are going too fast for my son or too slow. Y'all brought this group together. I didn't now it's not looking like a money grab for me of putting 8 DBs out there or receivers, and there's nothing wrong with group training, but personally for me, I just know it's hard when you set up the group and a group doesn't come to you, because a lot of parents be like, no, I'm not getting that. My son ain't ready for that group, or my son's too much better
It
than
becomes
that group.
intimidating a lot
right?
of times.
But if I do it, it's just hard because you're like, bro, why is this kid out there on the field with my son? Like, he's slowing him down. Or, dang, my son don't want to do this no more. These dudes are all D1 guys. Like, you know what groups to set up like that. Like, you set up the D1 guys, and then you'll have a real good high school guy or somebody that can hang. But when I do it, and I'm charging like that, I'm like, hey, I like to do individual because I don't want to feel like I'm rushing through something because your son's not doing it right. Or I don't want to feel like, dang, well, my son didn't get nothing out of this because those sorry kids over there couldn't catch the ball, and they did 3 drills today. So that's how I do my skill training a lot now.
That's the other side of it, too, is that you're holding the good kids back because you got to do repetitive training to a kid that may be behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kids and parents have changed so much.
Oh, my God.
You know, when I first started, if you was 8 and I had an NFL guy, you was in there out there with him.
Watch
Because
it.
kids back then, they would watch it,
Yeah.
they would work hard, they wasn't expecting you to give them anything, and they would get better.
Yep.
You know, Terrell would go over and tell the kid, hey, do it this way. And the kid would take that and be so joyed that this NFL dude is teaching him, he would work hard.
Yeah.
Now they see it, somebody better than him, and I don't want to do it.
Or
I'm
they-
not as good as him. And then parents, well, my son's not as good.
He
Well,
needs special attention.
Only way you're going to get better is to play against better people. Damon first started training, Terrell, Debo, Dominique Brooks, they
Aaron.
was all staters, Division One. Who'd you run your routes against?
Literally, I was in
That's who he-
seventh
that's who he
grade.
ran against.
I was in 7th grade. Terrell was the number 2 corner in the nation, number 5 running back in the nation. Dominique was the number 7 free safety in the nation. Debo was the number 10 strong safety in the nation. Aaron Harris was the number 2 linebacker in the nation. And in 7th grade, my pop said, if you're going to train with these guys, I'm going to tell them to treat you like you the number 1 wide receiver in the nation. And I was getting slammed and pushed and beat up. But when I went against even 8th graders, 9th graders, it felt like they was in 5th and 6th grade to me. Because I'm going against not good high school players, the best high school players, and getting treated like I'm the best high school player and smiling when I'm getting something because I know what it's doing to me because I'm going back to school killing them boys.
Yeah.
And then I started getting old. In 8th grade, I'm kind of getting off the line versus some of these guys.
Easy.
Then I'm starting to beat some of them. So that's why everybody's like, how are you that size when we're able to do what you were? Because I said, because I went against guys that were always bigger than me and way better than me.
Yep.
So that's how I had an advantage. I was smaller, but I always had a physical advantage outside of just obviously the attributes of height and weight. But physically, I had been against people stronger than me. It's like if I'm a grown man, I can take a punch from a 10-year-old because physically I've been hit harder than that.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't realize. Like another 7th grade can't press me as hard as T. Brown did, so it's not going to intimidate me. I'm going to walk through it because I know there's no real danger there because I've seen what danger is, and I got up.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell these guys. So when we moved to Forney, I actually had youth classes and older classes because it was a new group of people, a new setting. But after a year, I took out the group classes of youth, and we all train together now. And some of the parents were like, oh, hold on.
Right.
This is a 7-year-old girl. That's a grown man. And now they all be like, she be killing the girls in the games. We don't want to do youth
The only way
classes
you
no
get
more
better.
because one, I tell them, this is what happens. When you create a youth class, the kids don't know each other, so they're going to be good for the first 2 or 3 times, right? They don't know each other. They're shy.
Yeah.
But then they become friends, and you get 12 7-year-olds. What you think going to happen?
That one's going to be dominant.
They're going to be dominant, and then they're going to be playing around the whole time.
Oh, you mean
Yeah, no,
so-
but,
yeah,
but,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
but still, even in that, one's going to be dominant, one, that is the thing, one's going to exceed, and then but then they start playing around.
Yeah.
Now, when I get those 7, 8, 9-year-olds in there, now those are the ones that really want to be there because it's not, let me throw my kid out there to run energy out of them. They see they in a class where these kids is working.
weeded them out.
So when they start playing, I'll be like, oh, hold on. What one of these older kids you see doing what you're doing in the back of this line? And for the rest of the time, it's like this. And when they can't make it on the red box and they see the older kids make it, guess what that happens on their next set? They make it because they're like, I got to show them I can make it. And every parent that was skeptical about putting young kids with older kids, I said, you realize skill training is one thing. I can't throw the ball hard to an 8-year-old if I'm 16. But what does an 8-year-old not being able to jump on that red box got to do with your son jumping on the red box? Speed training has nothing to do with the person beside you. That's all your form and technique. Now, skill, I can't play basketball against an 8-year-old. But I was like, what he's doing over there ain't got nothing to do with your son using that Vertimax on the other side of the thing. But it does a lot to do with that 8-year-old seeing how he's using it. Because I can't really say, hey, you see how the other 8-year-olds are jumping in here? That's what I want. No.
Yeah.
But I can say, you see how you seen him play on Friday, right? And it builds their confidence to say, look who I train with. And when they go out there on that field, they go kill those other kids because they're so much more
It's all about
confident.
building kids' example, when you was playing Pee Wee football, we had one kid on the team, boy, couldn't tackle himself. One day I pulled Damon to the side. I said, Damon, let him tackle you. So I lined him up. Boom, Damon falls down. Kid gets up. Okay. I said, Damon, let him tackle you again. Kid runs, tackles Damon. Come Saturday, this kid's trying to take everybody out.
Yeah, all over.
Because he's like, I took out the best kid on our team. I tackled him. So these other guys, I can tackle them. It's all about confidence.
Iron sharpens iron.
And that was the thing that I learned early. Damon tell you, I would get out there against kids, I couldn't outrun them, but I talked them out of the race. Every day, Damon tell you, I would talk them right out of their race, and I'd beat them in a 40. Every single time. Could
Division
not
I
outrun none of them.
athletes. I'm
Could
like,
not outrun none of them. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, well, that's how I grew up. We talk smack.
Yeah.
It dawned on me that I was doing these kids a disservice by doing that. Because I'm like, I'm making this kid weaker instead of stronger by doing this to him. And so it got to the point where I was like, you know what, I have to stop doing this to kids because I had them really thinking they couldn't outrun me.
Yeah.
but it's fun in games. That's how you grow up, right? But because it's the thing is like you're not doing it to belittle a kid.
No,
like
no, I
the
wasn't.
parents is right there laughing too, right?
No.
Because it's like what kids like you see me. I race the kids all the time. I put on Instagram and I play and I show them, but I also tell them, hey, you know why? It's because you wasn't confident. You was worrying about what I was doing and this and that. And we still do it today, but you got to use it as a teaching lesson because it's like, hey, if I can be retired and washed up and get you out of your game like that, what happens when Julio Jones starts talking to you? Because that's your goal, right, to be up there with him. What you gonna do when you gonna pee in your pants? If you can let old coach do it too, and it's not the kids either. NFL guys, I've done it to them. I've raced them. I've run routes against them. I play basketball against some of the most elite kids in the nation. You know what I mean? That they're great. And it's like I teach them. I'm like, hey, bro, you can't let me talk to you.
Get in your
It had to become a teacher.
And that changed everything that you're going. And like say, you get another kid, and I'm talking about some of the elite kids that I've had. And like I said, obviously I won't. And I'm like, bro, you can't, like, I've had kids, I talk to them and beat them in like a throwing contest. And they're not even a quarterback. And that we did before the workout. And they can't even concentrate during a workout because they're so like mad. Like, I lost, like, bro, like, and it's like little things. So what happens when you lose a fumble in the championship game in college? How are you going to react to that? Like, if you can't even work out because you lost, and those are things that you learn as, a trainer growing up. Like, you got to know what kids you can play with and talk to. Some of them you can, some of them you can't. What kids you got to build up in a certain ways, but some kids that you got to be like, not trying to embarrass you, but I got to knock you down and let you know, like, I just did this to you.
Yeah.
You gotta,
I'm far removed from where you about to go, bro, in the SEC.
Yeah.
So you need to know I did this to show you you're not there yet.
You got work to do.
Keep working. So that's one of those
have to
things you just gotta figure out as a trainer because you're
have
more
to.
of a mentor too.
Because I mean, these kids, and Damon to tell you, it's 3 kids. Damon, Reggie Fish, and Terrell never fell for it. Them 3 never fell for it.
Right.
Man, I had dudes that should have beat me by 10 yards. And it made me refocus and start working with their mental toughness.
Yeah.
Or making them more mentally tough. When I would do that,
Yeah.
I'd have to make them more mentally tough because I was like, wow, these kids, their mental toughness is just not there. So, I had to refocus, because I still to this day do it. But there's a way of going about it and teaching out of that method and playing with, like I said, all I was doing was playing with them. But, in their mind, it's like, oh, wow, coach said I'm slow. Coach said I can't run. Coach said I can't. I'd run the same route. Beat them every time. Run the same route. And I tell them what I'm going to do. Beat them every time. Cause
Just
you
that
can't
confidence
hold me.
level.
This is what I'm going to do. You can't hold me. And I'd throw the same leg out there, run the same exact route, and beat them every time.
That
every single time
confidence
because
level
I
on
told
that.
them.
And that's the
So,
biggest thing.
I had to work
man.
on their confidence and learn as a coach to teach them confidence.
And you know, I think you learn that over time.
Yep.
And a part of the training regime for speed development was more, for me, the mental approach. Remember I was telling you about the sports psychiatrist from USC that I sat down and had a long conversation with her, and she's now with, I think, Green Bay Packers, but she's in the NFL. But one of the things that she was talking about that USC does for their track athletes is they do mental exercises. They do breathing and the same stuff that we're doing with our track athletes. Breathing, recreating the tempo, the metrodome, increasing their fast twitch brain.
Exactly.
So you got to reprogram the brain, one, and you also have to teach them the confidence thing and being in the moment. That's a sports psychologist term. Teaching a kid how to be in the moment. And what does that mean? Glad you asked. Being in the moment is simple. It's simply this. I'm in this lane. I'm running 100. Is that a track meet?
Yep.
I'm prepping before I get to my lane assignment. I'm getting warmed up. I'm doing my breathing. I'm visualizing myself going down the track
Yep.
and doing my thing.
Yeah.
Nobody else is in that frame. So teaching kids to paint a mental picture for themselves, and then taking that, once you've done that, now you get in the blocks and you block out everything.
100%.
Now here is in the moment. You ever done something you go, man, that felt so easy. I didn't realize I was running that fast, or that looked too easy.
I just had that conversation yesterday with a friend. Literally what you're talking about. They're like, how you make those, like, how were you making these plays like in high school and college? I said, because the night before most games, I couldn't go to sleep till 2 or 3 in the morning. Not from being nervous, because I had literally, because you know what plays, well, the first 15 plays are scripted. Then you kind of know what the game plan is and what plays y'all will be running throughout that game. I said, I ran every play that I thought we would be running, and I was in that playbook for that week 5 different times. If I catch the slant and I run through the route, and they're in cover 2, and that safety is right there, I'm going to give them this move and go. If I catch it and the guy's on me and I got to spin back out and the safety's now head up, I'm going to do this. Everything that I did in the game, I had literally did it in 5. Like it's kind of like being in an alternative universe. If I'm in this universe, this is what I'm going to do to get out. If I'm in this one, I'm going to do this. If I'm in this one, boom. Now, okay, now this is the next play. And that's the thing. If I told him, like Jackson and myself, when we make plays on the field, I said, I can't tell you what he's thinking, but it's probably very similar. People used to tell me how fast I was running. I actually thought I was running slow because when I had the game slowed down so much, it would be like kind of sports movies where, you know, you hear them talking inside their head, here comes the defender, go left. Here comes, like, it just felt like it was a frame, because I had played it so many times, the game wasn't just happening. I was literally playing the game inside of my head, and a lot of people don't realize that's why great athletes are great, because the game has already been played, so when I play it now for real, it's literally frame by frame. Other athletes play the game on fast forward.
Yeah.
And that's why they're slipping and falling, because everything's so fast for them, they're like,
And you're not in the
it's moving,
moment.
it's moving too fast.
You're not in the moment. Michael Jordan would take the game-winning shot a gazillion times. It didn't matter.
Yep.
All great. Kobe Bryant, it didn't matter. The basket looked like a peach basket to him.
Yeah.
Because they're in the moment. And they've replayed that process over and over in practice. How many times do the really great ones take 100 shots, bang, 100 shots, bang. And in their mind, game winner. You know,
Everything
we've
is
done
big.
that.
We
Yeah,
shoot it
yeah.
big.
Buzzer, bang. So you're creating this whole thing, but now when you get in the game, you got to climb in the moment.
Exactly.
You know, when you get in the blocks, you can't be saying to yourself, you know, I got Damon over here and I got Boger over here in this lane, you know, all these things that are outside of the moment, because you can only control what you do.
And that's what I love about track so much.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's the thing I love about track is can't nobody stop you from doing what you got to do.
No.
And the thing I hated about track was when I lined up I'm about to get my ass rolled, bro.
You ain't in the moment.
I am in the moment.
You ain't
That
in-
man run a 10-4. I'm running a 10-8. What I'm supposed to do?
Wrong moment.
Hey, look, look. That's what I used to hate about track. Like in football, right? I can say I'm only this high, this tall, weigh this much. Or basketball, this dude is cold, but his left hand ain't that good. I can make him go left. When you look at that track, you be like, I can't trip this man. I can't.
But
Like
check
you
it
can
out.
do your best, but I can't really do.
Oh,
that.
you just said something. Check it out. You can only do your best.
Exactly.
So if your PR is a 10.8 and you get rolled and run 10.7,
Yeah.
you're in your moment. You can't live for what everybody else is doing. That's the
and-
difference in track.
Yeah.
Because
You're trying to go against yourself in
it's
track.
about personal
Yeah.
records. It's not about
Exactly.
winning. And that's where so many parents get all messed up about Johnny didn't win. You know, when Phoenix comes home or I talk to them on the phone and they play, they've been getting drummed. Not softball, but basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, just getting rolled. Hey, baby, did you shoot the ball?
Yeah. And see, that was always my thing, because, right, I'm the ultimate competitor. I want to win. I'm literally lined up like, bro, this man ran 10-2. I'm about to, man, hey, I need to go back to this football field so I can get this dub. And that was always my thing, was like, goodness, like, because I'm, you know, as much as I was an athlete, I would say I was probably on every team, probably one of the smartest players, if not the smartest player. So I'm going to say, oh yeah, I'm guarding Crabtree, but I'm going to guard him like this because he's so much superior in this. This is one way to kind of even out the field. If I can take half of this away and say, now let's try. In that track, I used to line up because, like I said, what I tell you, not only did I not practice it, I wasn't mentally wanting to run it anyway. So I'm like, man.
Hold up. You just said something. I've always said you should have ran track, but I'm
Yeah.
still say that. But you just said something. You said
Yeah,
you weren't prepared.
yeah,
You weren't prepared to run your best. So when you look over there, you know you're not prepared. You look to your right, you know, there's, I don't know, Lanier, and you look
Yeah.
to your left, there's
Boger.
Boger. Yeah,
And I'm literally
Big
like, bro,
Boger.
why y'all got me in an open one?
But you didn't prepare for it.
It
Even
is-
though they're natural
Yeah.
athletes,
Yeah,
you, on the other hand, can only control your preparation. And if they ain't, I mean, if they're better than you naturally, well, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But I'm looking, and that's why I tell my kids, you can't always win the
Yeah.
race. But did you do
get
your
better.
best?
yeah.
Get better.
Can you get better?
Yep.
So I'm not, I'm not pointing fingers at Damon.
No,
because
that's fine. Like I said, I'm saying like
I
this
should
is
have
what.
been able
Yeah.
to give you this stuff back
Yeah.
in the day.
Back in the day.
Your daddy should have made you run, but
Man,
no,
I was
so
like I said, but yeah,
you didn't
that
wanna
was
see
always.
Shayla outrunning.
Yeah, she would have, because I'm not trying to run no 400. Like I said,
But-
Shayla's a monster. But yeah, like that was always my thing about track. I was like,
Triple jump.
You go out there and yeah, but-
regional. Triple jump and regional.
just so like I said, for track, I broke our school record.
running.
I literally broke our.
Marquis Goodwin's in the regional.
So I literally broke the school record in triple jump, won district in that. Cool. I'm looking at the thing, I'm like, bet. So that's why I put my time in, because I'm like, I was really quicker than fast, especially track. Now, first 60, I remember my freshman year, sophomore year, Mon, Xavier, all them boys running 10-4s. I'm out on every. Boy, I might hit 50. Boy, I was lost it up by dang near 50 after that. But yeah, so like that was just my thing. So I was never locked into track. He ran a 10-2. Don't what you wishing me luck for, bro?
Run a good race.
Yeah, like, but so like just stuff like that. But you know, just being that ultimate competitor, that was just that one thing I seen in track that I would always do. Be like, boy, I sure wish there was something I could do to make this man beside me not run so fast. But it's nothing you can do, because it's not. That's not track. Track is only about you. Like you can't make Usain Bolt run slower. You just gotta hope he don't run his race and you run your best race. And if he do run his best race and you run yours, hey, I got a better time and I'm just not there yet. But no, that was always one of the things that was funny about track. I do.
You know, I've seen guys that go out. Devontae Jones, good example.
Yep.
Name dropping, but anyway, you know, Devontae ran 10-4.
Yeah.
He gets up to UNT, and he ain't hit 10-4 yet. This
Yeah.
is his third year? Second or third year. You know, a part of that is the mental preparation, which is what we worked on this past summer during the COVID thing.
Yeah.
Was you have to be mentally prepared, because his idea was harder was better. If I push harder, you know, then I'll get faster. No, you won't. You know, you can't worry about what everybody else is doing. You need to be focusing on what, and I always say, identify certain things. A, B, and C this week is what I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
and focus on them.
And the thing about it is, like you say, not focusing on what everybody else is doing, right? The funniest thing is Floyd Mayweather doing this, right? Conor McGregor, literally, when he's at his height, they show his trainer, he doing all this weird, but he focusing on what gets him better. Then there's some other guy that swims instead of hits the road for longer. But they focus on what they do and what works for them. And other people focus what works on Mayweather and Conor instead of what works for DP. Like that one thing was that one of the best pictures ever was Michael Phelps when I think it was that dude from Brazil that kept saying he was going to finally beat him in the Olympics. And the Brazilian team was out in front, and that's when Phelps came back to keep all the golds at Olympics, and he passed them on the last leg, but they caught a picture. They were like right there, probably this far away from the finish line. And Phelps is literally zoomed in on the finish line, and the picture was perfect. The other dude is looking dead at Phelps.
Huh?
Like I said, you're worrying about him when the line is right there.
Focus on
the winners is worrying about the finished product and not what you're doing. All I can do is make sure I'm going faster. He was trying to see if Phelps would slow down or speed up or whatever. And that's the biggest thing. You got to focus on you.
It has to be taught, and that's what we started this conversation with.
A lot of it has to be taught.
This is some cool stuff because
It has to be taught.
You have to teach the mental approach. That's a part of being a good trainer. When
trainer.
you're doing the individual stuff, maybe not so much in the group stuff. We try to do group stuff or tried, but individually it comes a lot easier because kids are not looking to the left, looking to their right, wondering what their peers are thinking. One-on-one, we go through meditation, we go through breathing exercises, we go through visualization, psychopictography, and all that stuff. Some people have it naturally. I gotta admit, but both my boys, they could lock in.
Yeah, that's how I was, but Devin was different.
Yep.
Right?
But I taught them to lock in when they were little.
Yeah.
So we developed a skill. Scooter, and there's a lot of parents that yell at their kids for making mistakes. So really what you're doing is you're teaching the kid to fear failure.
Yep.
Exactly.
But what we will get on Phoenix about, I've gone to her basketball games, and I'm like, baby, you didn't hustle for Papa.
Yep.
You didn't give everything.
Exactly.
Did you give everything you had? Well, no, not really. Okay, that's all we want you to do.
Leave it on the field.
I tell my kids, my parents, you can get on them. I'm like, no, I don't need to
Ain't
get
your
on them.
job.
I said, all he did was drop the ball. Like, what I'm gonna yell at him for? I said, now I will get on them when they're jogging and not paying attention.
Yeah.
That's what they need to be working on. Dropping the ball. That's why they're in here. It's to work on catching the ball.
learn how to catch the ball.
But how many parents do we run across that they forget why they're here? Disciplining a kid does not come from a trainer.
Nope.
Johnny needs to come see you because he just ain't doing this. He just said, whoa.
Now he don't want to come to me.
Johnny don't want to pay attention. Don't bring him. I remember that I turned one girl away because she wouldn't listen. And the mom said, well, you need to get on her. I'm like, I'm not getting a little thin girl.
I'm like, that's not our
not
job. But that's also, see, that's the problem though, and this is a whole nother conversation, but that's society. Because who we want to teach our kids? The teachers. No, I'm supposed to teach them how to count, read, and all this. Why am I teaching them all this discipline, manners, self-respect, how to treat others? I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Skills.
You don't do that at the house? I thought that's what y'all do at the house. Like, you supposed to tell them, yes or no, sir. You don't put your hands on people. I'm teaching your kid this. Plus, I'm teaching your kid that now this COVID hit. Now the same thing you said, little Johnny ain't never not paid attention. He ain't never talked back. Now all the parents is telling me, man, my son, everything you said, he doing at the house. And think about this. You as parent. And you can, if you decide to, whoop them. They know I can't even touch them. So what you think they doing at school?
Well, they want you to
Whatever
be
they
the bad
want.
guy. They want to be the friend. They want you to be bad guy.
And the friend part of it, there's different phases. Now we're getting into some other stuff that's really interesting stuff too.
Yeah.
It's parenting. Okay? When during your child's, in my mind, during developmental periods where they're growing and you're developing and teaching them discipline, and that goes for boys, that goes from 2 or 3 years old, the terrible twos, all the way up to when they're 17, 18 years old, sometimes 16.
Yeah.
But the goal is, by the time they're 16, you've taught them everything, right from wrong, how to be respectful, thou shalt not steal, all these other things.
Yeah.
Now at that point, we can become good associates, but I'm still your father.
Exactly.
And I don't become your friend until you get out of college.
Exactly. That's how it
You know
is,
what I'm
like I
saying?
said.
So now me and
We
my
cool.
now y'all friends.
Best friends, and they
Best
want to be their
friends.
biggest cheerleader.
Yes, sir.
You cannot be their biggest cheerleader.
Cannot.
Because you will not look at it objectively.
Objectively.
You
No.
will not do it.
You
That's
can
the
be,
biggest thing.
and that's the thing is, and that's cool because some people say you should be there. No, being a biggest cheerleader and a supporter is two different
different
things.
Different things.
Two different
Yes,
things.
I'm gonna support everything you do, but I'm not gonna cheer you on when you think about this. A cheerleader, when your team do bad, are you supposed to say, Kansas, boo? No, no matter if we throw interception, you still up there waving them pom poms, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But you still gonna support your team regardless if they lose or not. But the coach is supposed to support the team. But when we play bad, I'm about to get on you. We did bad. I'm not gonna cheer for things that were wrong, and that's the difference. Be your kids' biggest supporter of what they want to do, but don't be their biggest cheerleader,
No big excuse, yeah.
their biggest fan. No.
And that's what happens.
And
with the
that's what
kids.
happens. So they don't see things objectively. Like that's why you got the Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, the Lakers, the Yankees, because y'all are all fans. So no matter if the Lakers go 0-82 next year, there's going to be some fans that say the Lakers still the best team in the NBA because you're a cheerleader and you're not seeing things objectively.
Yeah.
If you're a supporter, you're gonna be like, no, that's my squad. We was trash, bro. like you just gonna keep it real, and that's
Sort
the
of like the
biggest
Dallas
thing.
Cowboys right now. That's
Yeah,
what
like I
I'm saying.
said,
But
and that's the thing.
they're
That's why I tell
trash.
people, like I'm literally still winning. I'm still winning money off of Cowboys bets. People still betting on the Cowboys,
Yeah.
like because you're a fan. Like you're supposed to be fanatical, right? And just regardless, and that's the same thing. So when you become a fan of your child, to a certain extent, it does them injustice because you're no longer objective of where they're at. Like I had a dude tell me, hey, my son wants to play basketball, and I want to bring him to you because I think if he gets with you, he has a chance to be in the NBA, right? I got this kid, and I kid you not. And I work with anybody, and I still work with him. My man didn't know how to dribble the ball, and he was in middle school. And that's where you're a fan of your. And when I say I talked to this dude, he held me on the phone for like an hour telling me about how good his son was.
Oh, man.
And like I'm talking about, he couldn't dribble. He didn't make one lay. We did 20 straight layups before he made one. And that's where I say you're doing your kid, because the kid coming up here big and bad. He left out here. Dad was like, "Do you want to come back?" So of course the kid was like, "Yeah." Never seen him again because he seen how bad he was, but he thought he was Hercules. And that's why I say be objective with your kids. Support them, but you have to be
You gotta be
real
objective.
with them.
Know the truth. Know the truth.
And be
Hey,
able
man, you
to
gotta work.
and be able to accept the truth. That's the other part about parents. Parents know Johnny sucks.
Yep.
That's why they bring him, right? But they're not willing to accept that Johnny's not good at this. So maybe Johnny needs to do. It's like bringing a kid and saying, "I want him." I forget that young lady's name, but track athlete. Daddy wanted to be a 1 in a 200-meter runner. She can't run out of sight in a day.
Exactly.
She need to be running the 800 or the 1600.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You
And the
can
dad
still be
goes-
a monster at
But the
that.
dad goes, "Well, I was a sprinter,
What that got to do with
and
her?
her mama ran track."
Michael Jordan was
You're
the
not
greatest.
being-
His
you're not-
son didn't play in the NBA.
Hey, when the gun sounds, and they're the last one out the block and the last one to cross the line, you're not being objective. Maybe your daughter needs to be doing something else where she can have success.
And I tell people, you got to stop trying to live your dreams to your kids, because your son is a beast on that piano, but you want him to be LeBron.
How about it?
Your daughter can sing her butt off, but you want her to be Lisa Leslie.
Yeah.
And that's the things. Let them figure out what they do, and then go support it.
Go support them. Yeah.
Go support it. Yes, cheer them on this and that. And if they do, hey, baby, you must not have been drinking your teas and doing your vocal because your voice was cracking up there. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm gonna say, hey, I'm proud of you, but hey, we got to work harder because you sing better than that. Some people know, hey, oh, you did amazing. No, you didn't, because now the voice is gonna continue to crack, right? She's gonna continue to do that until
she ain't
one day
made no
she's not
correction.
good enough.
She ain't made a
and then she
correction.
don't do. And that's the biggest thing, being a supporter more than, like I said, a fan.
Yep.
Like I said, there was all the, especially from elementary through high school, every team I played on, especially after I became a junior, like it was me and Lanier and me, 1 and 2, you know what I mean? There wasn't a field that I stepped on most times where I wasn't the best guy. But my dad, when I scored 5 touchdowns, had 200 yards or whatever, I never got the card. Boy, you the coldest dude out there I ever seen.
Nah.
Hey, great game. Make sure you do this. Hey, you was loafing on food plates. Let's fix that. But good night. And then the same thing when I was the best guy on the field and I dropped 3 passes. Hey, pick your head up. Get on that drugs machine tomorrow and go get back
Catch
at
more
it.
balls.
But you was
Just
hard.
support.
You was hard on yourself. I remember North Garland game, your first game of your junior year.
Yeah.
You had 5 catches, 4 touchdowns. You get in the car, and I'm like, man, that was a great game. And you was upset because that 5th one should have been a touchdown too. That's what he said. He didn't say, oh man, I did have. He was mad because he didn't score on the 5th one.
But he got it
But
because
that was learned.
I was about to say he
That
got
was
it
learned.
because of what you
That
and
was learned.
Lisa had instilled in him, and it just comes out.
It was learned.
Yeah, I mean, never be. You know, you've always taught those kids, your sons, is never be satisfied with what you do. Always seek to do better.
Got to.
Whereas
That's
I was
why.
saying,
That's why.
even if you the best, you got to practice like you ain't the best.
Yeah,
Like
we had
I've been telling them that for
exactly
years.
literally the thing. We used to write it
telling them that
on
for years.
before all the little silly bands came out and all that. We used to get a piece of white tape and write it on there. Even when you number 1, you train like you number 2.
Yep, been telling them that
Always
for
since
years.
I was 5 years old, and that's where people don't realize. Like that's why I always have another facility. That's why I got a truck company. That's why I got this. Because even when I'm doing this, okay, there's more I can be
Something else to
doing.
do.
That's the same way I approach football. That's the same way I approach life. Like I told everybody, when I stopped playing football, what you gonna do? Shoot, I don't know, but I know I'm gonna be doing it really good. Like that's all I know. Like all I know is I'm gonna be one of the best to do it, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. You have to teach your kids that there's more, that you can be the best, and if you're not, to keep working. And when you are, you keep working. I got a shirt about it. When you're the best, you still got to keep working. Like that's the thing. Like they don't teach them that. There's some parents that literally I just say like, can you sit in the car? Because their kids are so nervous to train around them. They hate when their parents come to the game.
It's fear factor.
Like and then when I tell them, hey, I was like, to be honest, when your kid come in here, the type of conversations we have, you would be mortified if your son, and I tell him, you got to talk to your dad about this and that, and I'm like, I'm going to tell your dad that at some point I hope that you tell him, so I'm not holding nothing from him, and I'm going to let you know that I'm going to tell him. They still tell me, but I said, we won't go into deep with him, but, hey, sir, your son don't like you being at them games.
Is there something else I can help with?
Like,
And that's not cool.
hates it. Like, come on now, bro. Like, I couldn't wait. Like, in college, I walk into them stands.
I'm fine. Yeah, my kids
Wow.
are fine.
Finding my parents every chance I get. High school, boom, I knew where my mom, dad, grandma, anybody that came to that game was. I could point them out.
So,
On the thing.
so the lesson for all of this in terms of the training thing and what we've learned over the years, and you're going into this whole process of training, is that, you know, is more to all of this than just the physical part of it.
So much more.
Rolling the ball out there and saying, let's go.
You know, what kids need to have and what they should be walking away from at the end of your tenure with them, however long that is they're a better person. Every kid that we've worked with over the years, you say you look back and what did you get out of it? There's no greater feeling to see some of the kids that we've dealt with over the years, you see them with their kid.
Yep.
And they're being good fathers. But even though they came from a fatherless situation,
Exactly.
so teaching the kids to be accountable,
Yep.
it transfers into the way of life, getting up and going to work, being an entrepreneur, being a good employee if you're in the corporate world. All this stuff pays off, and that's what a lot of trainers are not doing.
Not doing that.
It's
about money.
It's about money. It's about production of that kid. And if the kid doesn't produce, I had a kid that I worked with years ago, Matthew Principe. I never will forget him. He was Little League baseball, and he was the worst kid on the team.
Yeah.
And I had a philosophy that if you play for me, you're gonna play.
Yeah.
I don't care what the situation is. Everybody's gonna play. I put Matthew in a game that we were winning, but they had two runners on base, and we were winning by 3. Matthew goes out in the right field. Now, usually the ball don't find the worst kid,
Yeah.
or it finds the worst kid.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Kid gets up there, pow, hits the ball to right field, goes between Matthew's legs. Ball game. They win by 1, we lose. It's Matthew's fault. No, it ain't. Matthew played hard. He turned around and chased the ball down, threw it in best he could.
Yeah.
Fast forward 20 years later, I see this kid in the grocery store in Walmart. He
Yeah.
says, Mr. Jordan. Or he called me Coach Jordan. Coach Jordan. Who was that? And I see this guy, he's got a beard and got a little kid with him. He said, I'm Matt Principe. I was like, oh, how you doing? It took me a minute to realize who he was.
Yeah.
And you know, you've gone through this.
Oh my gosh.
And I go,
More times than
oh, Matt, I'm so glad to see you. He said, Mr. Jordan, I remember you put me in when everybody told you not to, and the ball was hit, and we lost the championship, Rally Baseball.
Yeah.
He said, you never yelled at me. He said, now I have my son, and I'm raising my son the same way, with the same idealism. So it's not just making or assisting kids to be great athletes. It's those kids like the Matt Principes of the world that learn how to be a parent and take that to his kid. And that's how we get this world that we live in better. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go there, but
but it's all true.
It's
all true.
it's all about me, I, my son. No, it's bigger than that. How many kids do I train? Who are the top kids? Well, I got the top kids. Well, what about the kid that ain't the top one?
Exactly, and we pride ourselves in that. But,
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's funny that you say it's not really going off because I get every so often, let's say I might get 10 text messages of being thanked for what I've done in here.
Absolutely.
And 8 of them aren't about a catch. It's, hey, look where his grades are at now. Hey, this is what he helped somebody from the thing. Hey, he's doing this, she's doing that. It's literally 8 of the 10 are usually about a life thing that doesn't have to do with the sports. It's literally after a workout. Never do I get like if it's a text right after the workout. It's never, hey, coach, that was a good workout. Hey, that conversation that y'all had, I really appreciate that. And if it's a big accolade, then it might be a sport sometime. But if it's immediately after the workout, it's never about the workout. It's always about the principles and what we talked about during the workout. The parents literally know we have an hour in here. And sometimes I might use 12 minutes of the hour literally telling them this, how you doing on this wall, and you ain't running, and you ain't doing this. That translates to school. That's why you haven't turned in your papers. That's why you're failing. That's why this is happening. You ain't making up your bed at home. And never have a parent be like, hey, coach, you wasted 12 minutes of workouts, because they know that needs to be said. Because that's going to carry through life. Them wall runs is going to carry through the next 20 seconds that we was doing with them being tired. And that's one of the things that I love about my parents. When we go off, and if I tell my parents, if I'm literally having to talk to your kid, if it's about a workout, if it's about the technique in the workout, or about life, it's 100% more important than them tuck jumps or them slams we could have been doing in that same moment in time. If I'm taking out my time, I feel like what I'm about to say will supersede any other drill or reps we would be doing at that time. And they be like, no, we 100%.
Positive ways, you know.
Yeah.
It's like y'all fifth grade year had a player fail in class.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you on defense with me. You ain't playing this
You
week.
ain't playing.
His parents come running up to me at the game all mad, and why ain't he playing? I said, cause he failed. I said, next year when he gets to 7th grade, he failed, he can't play. Well, he's in 6th grade this year. I said, so what does that mean? I'm just trying to prepare him for next year. If he does this, you don't play football no more.
Values.
You know, next week they come back, hey, coach, his grades is up. I thank you for this and that. We ain't had no problems the rest of the year. But I didn't care because he's in 6th grade.
Well, that was standing rule.
Yeah, you
Back in the
failing,
day.
I don't care who you are.
You don't get to play.
My son, Damon, tell you, it was all about you being a better person.
Absolutely.
Everything with, I kicked Damon out of raw
Practice.
power. I
Oh,
kicked
I
him out of raw
remember.
power. He just wasn't doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Guess who he wouldn't work for?
Shoot, your
look-
daddy.
No, me.
He wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, well, you sent him over to me and you said, hey, don't you remember that?
Yeah.
We was at North Mesquite.
Yeah.
Hey, go over there with Coach Jordan.
Oh,
KJ, take him over. I was like, shit, if he ain't listening to you. And right after that is when you kicked him out of practice.
I kicked him out of raw power for 6 months
Yeah.
because he wasn't doing what he's supposed to be doing. And I'm like, if I kick my son out,
Yeah,
yours ain't got a
yeah.
chance. But
Yeah.
that's just how I was. I didn't care who he was, my son.
It's just about right or wrong.
It's right or wrong.
I
And
remember
that's
I
what
made
parents
an
and coaches have to
86
do.
in advanced math. I was in 7th grade doing 8th grade math, doing advanced math. I made an 86. My pop's like, hey, if you get any more B's in math, you done with sports for the rest of the year. I said, got an 86 in advanced math. He's like, but this is the third 6 weeks. The first 6 weeks you made 94s and up.
Yep.
So why are you making 86? So obviously you wasn't
I'm 94.
paying attention, or you knew you needed help with something and wasn't going to get the help. Bring home another beer bath. Like, there wasn't no 70. Like, I'm not even thinking about making a C, let alone a 70. He's like, that's not what we talking about in the house.
acceptable.
Like I graduated high school 3.8, so we ain't worried about no C for pass and play. We talking about, are you doing your best? Back to that track. Okay, you won. Yes, you do got the highest GP on the team, but that B right there is not your
It's not your
best.
best.
If you're
And
an
those
A
were
kid,
things.
you make an A.
Yeah.
If you're a C kid, you make a C. That's just how it is.
And who determines what kind of kid you are, the parent?
Yeah, that's just how it is. If you're an A kid, we gonna make A's. We ain't gonna say who B I pass.
No.
We gonna make A's.
So you know, and it just kind of going full circle with the whole training thing. That's just it's a microcosm of what you're doing with the lives of young people, and it's so cool. And you talked about where you are now with TRPT as opposed to Raw Power. Well, where you are now, yeah, you got buildings and all that, but man, the legacy is still being passed on.
Exactly.
Then that to me is more important, and it's a legacy of principle. It's not just making money. I always said this, and Damon, you can agree with this. You're gonna always make money when you're doing something that you have a passion for.
100%.
So hats off to you, kudos, man. I mean, I think you're awesome. I've watched some of your what do you call it, podcasts?
Yeah.
I'm like, look at Lil D. You know,
I
I see
appreciate
you
it.
grow. I see the new building. You know, Damon pretty much is retired.
Yeah, thank you.
And we've got some place that we can move kids to. Hey, I ain't doing it, but you need to go over there in Forney and see Lil D. Here's his number.
Yeah.
You know, if they call, fine. If they don't,
We're
still
gonna keep
fine.
pushing. Yeah.
But it's
It's
an
an
honor.
option. It's an option for
It's
them.
an honor and a pleasure to watch you grow, and to watch all of our
All of
boys.
them. Yep, all of
Exactly,
them.
all of us.
It's so interesting because we both have two sons. And how far apart are you and Devin?
2.5 years.
My two boys are 4 years apart.
Yeah.
But everybody's eating.
Yep.
Everybody's doing good.
Everybody's
Ain't
doing
nobody going to jail. Everybody's respectful.
Exactly.
When you talk to people about Damon Patterson, you know, you talk to them about Devin, they're all gonna say they're great kids.
Yeah.
Or great human beings. When you talk to folks about the Jordan boys, they say, man, those are some good guys. They represent all of the right things in what young African American males are supposed to represent. And that's what I'm so proud of you about.
100%. That's why I tell people all the time. I don't care if you like my training or not. You can go wherever. You go. I say you can work out with me for free for the rest of your life. You go find one person in this world that got anything negative to say about the Patterson family.
You ain't
I
gonna
said, you can. I said, literally, you work out for free the rest of your life every day if you can find one person that has, like, outside of saying, oh, well, I think there's a better trainer. No, I'm talking about personally. You find somebody that got something bad to say.
Now, you
find
might find somebody that says something negative about Kevin Jordan because I'm very blunt and direct. But
Yeah.
ain't nobody gonna say nothing bad. Or Damon Patterson,
Yeah.
or even Lisa, because Lisa will get you told.
Yeah,
You might not
but,
like what
but
she
there's
said.
also a thing of somebody not liking somebody being honest with them or saying it in a certain way. But I'm talking about malicious.
No.
Like, no, I've never done nothing to your kid. I've never done nothing to you. I might have told you something about your kid that you didn't like, that, hey, this might not be for them. But other than that, like, you're not going to be like, hey, that's a bad guy. He's late or he does this bad. No, we come out, we do our thing. Everybody eats around here. The kids gonna eat. The parents are gonna learn more. They're gonna be able to put the younger kids in better positions that are about to come through, regardless if they train with us or not. They now know what a good program looks like, and they can move forward from there. But with that being said, man, we're gonna wrap this up. I appreciate y'all boys for coming on. All right. Yeah, love.
We do the group hug.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's TRPT, COD, Change of Direction, episode 10, man. We wrapping up 2020 in a good way. Appreciate y'all for having us. Like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. We out.
That was awesome, man.